Good evening, Club Cult. Got a new pop-out button on the kick dash. Don't stop doing that, window. Thank you. It's a fancy new pop-out button. Pulls out of purgatory. Can't see my search bar. Even though there's 2 other monitors with the search bar, I keep trying to train myself, and I'm apparently not very trainable. Oh, it's not February anymore, is it? You gotta make a new pinned. Welcome, Matt Topher. My pipes are angry. Welcome. I hope the evening has been kind and less wet for you so far. March is like... What's a good emoji for... Oh, Shamrock! Because St. Patty's Day. Need a March emoji. I did remember while cleaning up the mini flood that, cough, I was supposed to do it first of the month. Harley, cough, cough, cough. We haven't had one yet this year. Cough. Failing at life. Cough. What was that? There's a tickle in my throat. So I do believe I'd like to do first of the month Harley on this Tuesday. It's coming Tuesday. I think. Because then we can play Batman games. Tuesday is game night. I mean, every night is game night. That's my life. But specifically, need like sparklies or something. We're doing low-key graphic design right now. No, we're not. I'm just making my pinned. Well, that's pretty. Well, let me write that. Oh, it looks weird. Never mind. Here, you guys can help me pick. I'm indecisive. It's the wrong window. The song started and it sounded like... You stupid piece of crap. There you go. It sounded like the Windows startup sound. The old Windows startup sound. It was weird. What's pretty for March? The stars, maybe? Oh, I like that. Hey, welcome, Smoops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the 15 months. Thank you for supporting the Stream the Dreams project. Thank you for being the awesome human that you are. Alert, alert! You're an awesome human up in this bish. Do you have power again? Also, I love Fat Tony. Can you give him all of the treats for me, please? Thank you for supporting the Stream the Dreams project. Yay! Power is back on. That was marvelous. We're glad. Did it go out from the weather? Or did someone hit something? Welcome, Bronson. Hope everyone's having an awesome night so far. We lost power for a couple days here when someone hit a transformer. A couple years ago. That was not fun. There's none of these that I like better. We're going with it. I will fix everything else sometime in the next 24 odd. Is a storm like a thunderstorm or a snowstorm? Oh no. Oh no. Usually defeather your tofu before you eat it? What? What is this in reference to? Tofu doesn't have feathers. I mean, sometimes it has cat hair stuck to it in my house, but that's just all foods. I need context here. A huge snowstorm. Oh no! No. That's horrible. That's the worst time to lose power. Any other time, it's just horribly inconvenient. Good lord. I'm glad you were able to find somewhere to stay warm and cozy. And to introduce Club Cult to Fat Tony. I love him. I love him so much. What does he smell like? To avoid those tickles in the throat. They're unavoidable. I have the CACC bug. I have it. My headache still has not gone away, which is the longest I've ever had a headache for. 3 days. Over 2 feet of snow. Holy shit. That hasn't even happened many times in my lifetime. It's crazy. That's a lot of snow. It's too much. Too much snow. Just a light dusting requested from here on further. Tony is actually she. Antonia. Little fatto Antonia. I love her. I love her so much. I love her even more now. I need to know the story about the name. Welcome, Cygenics. The feeling is mutual. Sad stories about snow, sad stories about headaches. What other tales of woe? I've given mine, Smoops has given his, the Mad Topher, which is yours. Cygenics, what's your tale of woe? Tigra is telling us his tale of woe. I guess apparently we're all eating fluffy tofu. Thought Tony was a boy as a kitten. The vet didn't notice until we went to get her fixed. We learned she was a she. Aww. Aww. That's actually common. I mean, like, sometimes it's really obvious when there's huge nards. And some cats do have, like, big peepees or small peepees, you know? But it actually really is hard to sex cats sometimes. Don't feel bad about it. It's a pretty common theme that I see coming up on all of the animal Reddit pages that I follow of like, he turned out to be a she or vice versa, or we brought them in for a spay and they got neutered. Even with Charlie, I had trouble telling if she was a boy or a girl at first. It's slightly too warm today is the tale of your woe. Oh. That's uncomfy though. If only it could just always be comfy all the time. In a perfect world. Serena for president. We all get our own personal little sandy cheeks bubbles. Climate controlled to your liking. That would be a ridiculously expensive thing to implement and absolutely insane. But would that effectively stop global warming? If there was like a heap of ventilation system for like out and in? This is an insane thought. But if it were possible, would that stop global warming because everything would be contained and then filtered as it was put back out? Just looking, I have to look for a few minutes to be able to actually tell. So don't feel bad. Unless there's 2 little trouble puff friends, it's not obvious. Charlie does have a telltale mustache. I thought Charlie was a boy at first. She's small, but she has like that dominant stature. She's sure of herself. Bring in the dome, and then we can move to the moon. Fly me to the moon. I think that's a song, and I think that's how it goes. Dome life. Dome life. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. It's a choose your own adventure, and I hope your evening is going wonderfully so far. But like, scientists of the world, if anyone knows things, would that fix everything? BRB, I'm gonna go start building like a structure and wrapping it with saran wrap around my house. No, fuck my house. We're gonna start with the French. I thought there was a song like that. I think it was on the radio when I was driving the other day. Let's hop into the Disky Boo. I am late as fuck tonight. I still can't, well, I can believe that happened. It happened like, I don't know, a couple years ago. And I fixed it. But then I was angry at the sink. So I didn't use that sink for like, until, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago. I was just brushing my teeth in the kitchen sink because I'm a scrub. Because I was afraid to use it and get pissed off about it. But I knew when I tested it the last time, it was functioning. I was just mad about it. So I boycotted it. And then I started using it again. And I think I did the plumbing tape wrong. Like the sealer tape, whatever it is, for the P-trap. And I think that's just what I have to redo. I don't think I have to buy a new pipe or anything. I think I just have to rewrap it. I was just brushing my teeth and then I heard drip, 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 drip. And that drip, drip, I guess, has been happening for a while. It was very wet under there. There's a fan running now. I'm a little bit unhappy with myself. We're not plumbers in my family. I'm not good at plumbing. My dad's not good at plumbing. We're not plumbers. Last time my plumber was here and installed the toilet, the new toilet, he suggested just replacing the sink because it's old, and instead I fixed the pipe, and maybe it didn't fix, and maybe I do need to replace the whole sink, but that seems kind of ridiculous. I don't know. What's your favorite kind of car, and what's your favorite kind of motorsport? Nikki Racer. Now I'm curious. I'm a nosy girl. I might go to my favorite car convention this weekend. I think it would be this weekend. The weekend after this weekend, yes. 6th, 7th, 9th. World of Wheels. It all depends on how Mr. Puppyhead with the no nuts is going to do with it. It's a Frank Sinatra song. Boom. There we go. It's classic. Sad stories about sinks now. I'm upset. I was very upset. I wasn't crying, it was just sink water running down my face. Reminds you of the spider sink? Oh no! That sounds like something I would do. There's a big spider in one of the bathroom sinks and you just didn't use it. The sink is yours now, spider. It has now been delegated to the spider. Oh my goodness. The first step to being a good plumber is letting your ass crack hang out. So most of the zoo should be good plumbers. They go like, are they absolutely the most professional plumbers that ever were though? Because they just got their whole asshole hanging out. It's not even like a crack. It's just a butthole. That's some intense plumage. Plumage is feathers, but it sounds like it works phonetically in this case. So we're going to pretend it's the right word. Favorite car is an Audi TTS Coupe. Ooh, she's pretty. You love endurance racing. That's awesome. Do you ever consider like streaming something like that, or do you make YouTube videos? I like car content. Send me the link to the only cars. Plumbage. Yes, plumbage. For some reason that reminds me of Pumbaa from The Lion King. I don't know if that's supposed to or not, but it does. I'm very disappointed in the sink, though. I had high hopes for a living with that one. Oh, Bronson, welcome. Appreciate you. Welcome, Roman. I mean, maybe there's another Bronson in the world, and that's not you, but if so, pass on the thank you and appreciation to the fellow Bronsons of the world. When you guys hop into the Discord, please do not forget to green check them their rules so that I can let you in when I'm offline. My Discord is not automatic and magical. Sad. But I like pressing buttons. There's a method to the madness. I like pressing buttons. And we have recently discovered the concept of I usually let you guys in either when I wake up in the morning or before I go to bed. So the bonus round of it is you get to be either the first thought on my mind in the morning or the last thought on my mind before I go to bed. It's worth the lack of bots for that. I would say In my humble opinion. But opinions are like assholes and everyone has them, so. There's the suck at Trebek quote. I want to see this. Keanu Reeves, he's so young there. Good God. Is that Sean Connery? The guy with the grayish hair? He looks like Ethan Klein. Which, to preface, I guess, I know nothing of Ethan Klein. He just apparently is a lot of, like, drama or podcast or something. Because he comes up on my Twitter timeline a lot. Like, impersonating as. They usually do a good job of making themselves look exactly like. And he does look like him, but very young. He's just a baby. He's just a baby. 24 Hours of Le Mans. Is that something on YouTube or is that a movie? Hunt for Red October? What's that? Nothing more Russian than a Scottish guy. You know what? Just let me have the little things in life. So why do I have two of these open? Let us peruse. It's a Russian sub movie with Sean Connery. Oh. 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 Is it good? Would you recommend it? It's on YouTube. Nice. There's a movie of Le Mans that Steve McQueen stars in. Ooh. Let's put that on my watch list. The ever-growing watch list.
And network competition being what it is, I stand before you, a broken and miserable man. Let's take a look at the scores. Sean Connery has set a new Jeopardy record for futility with
A Tom Clancy and a Sean Connery?
Shuck It Long.
Well, damn.
Shuck It Hard.
He really, like, darkened his eyebrows and facial hair. It's funny. By sub, do we mean submarines? Or, like, sub sandwiches? I don't think we mean, like, submissive fiddles. It's good because they end up having the Russian language stuff auto-translated and spoken in English. Oh, that is nice. I don't mind subtitles, though. I have subtitles on for just full-on English shit. Because it's, I don't know, I guess kind of mentally relaxing to read what I'm hearing instead of, like, watching the show most of the time. I don't know. I don't think I learned how to consume media properly. I don't know what I'm doing. Submissive sub sandwich eaters on a submarine going suborbital performing subtraction. Well, it was worth questioning. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. Submissive sub sandwich eaters on a submarine going suborbital. You know what? I learned today. Submarines and subtitles. Das Boot is another good sub movie. Oh god, I can never remember the name of it right off the top of my head. And it's one of my favorite movies. It's almost entirely in subtitles. And I didn't make a guy take me to the movies to see it. But I got to choose the movie, and it was like war movie. So, yay, men enjoy those things. But then he was very disappointed that it was all in subtitles. Let me have it come back to me. What was it? I can usually Google the synopsis and find it. Wait, no, that's not right. Not mother to 5 sons. It's 1 son, 5. I think it was 5 fathers. No. Stalingrad. That one. It's a very good movie. but it was all in subtitles. I lost my window. Oh god, I have a lot of tabs open. Okay, we're condensing this. There you go. Or excellent adventure, I guess. Oops. I never would have placed that being his face. I know he's been through like some difficult emotional family things, and that tends to age you and kind of like alter the fat reserves in your face, so to speak, because oftentimes you lose weight when you're grieving, and that I never would have matched the two faces. But I only know his face as that, to be fair. Not... Whoa! Okay, today I learned. I'm bad at faces. I mean, I already knew I was bad at faces, but today I learned that that's Keanu. So we saw The Matrix, but I don't remember seeing him in The Matrix. But I was also young.
No one can figure out if the hot tea is hot or cold. Thank God, Keanu Reeves. Is it...
I remember watching The Matrix. I don't remember if I think we rented it from Blockbuster. But I don't remember paying a lot of attention to it. When did it come out? What was my ability to understand things at whatever age that was? 19. I was 6. This movie, and they slowed it down. If they slowed down, it exploded. Oh god. I have no idea what that synopsis is. That sounds crazy. $1994?
Alright, pop quiz. Airport. Gunman with one hostage. He's using her for cover. He's almost to a plane.
Let's,
100 feet away.
what's her face?
What do you think?
Sandra Bullock, I think.
Hostage. What? Go for the good moon and you can't get to the plane with her.
He's a pretty boy from some... Not him, the other guy. I recognize him from something.
What we have here are 13 passengers in an express elevator.
I don't think he's in Prison Break, but something that's conceptually similar.
Close the emergency brakes. Anything else that'll keep this elevator from falling?
I really think it's just fucking around trying to figure out the context as far as AI mod goes. But it has bonked things that I tell it to not bonk categorically. So it's very confusing.
For LA cop Jack Traven. Tell me again, Harry, why did I take this job? Come on, 30 more years.
She's very pretty. She hit the genetic jackpot, or she does like the perfect amount of work. I don't think she's aged in my entire lifetime.
Very exciting, Jack. Some close calls, huh? When someone put the city of Los Angeles to the ultimate test.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
There's a bomb on the bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do you do? What do you do?
Are you insured?
Yeah, why?
He's the only solution.
We just got a ransom.
Sheesh.
Says he's rigged the city bus. Where's Jack?
What do you think?
Stay on or get off.
Get off.
This is much better.
This would give me so much anxiety to watch. It's probably a really excellent action movie, but it gives me so much anxiety. This does not reinforce a lack of need for driving dreams. You know, it's a good action movie. There's a huge explosion and a flying bus.
Keanu Reeves. Dennis Hopper.
Oh, the pretty boys get... I don't know his face pre-John Wick. I don't know what his baby face looks like. His baby face does not make sense to me for his current face. He's handsome there, and he's handsome now. I'm not meaning to talk shit about the guy, but my brain refuses to recognize him as Keanu. That's very interesting. I love the opening scene to this. I believe, if I remember correctly, the opening scene for Stalingrad is their at Ground Zero for 9/11. If we can even get the intro on there, that's the first 30 seconds of it. Official trailer. No. 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 That was like an angry cat song. Scene. Sound. Song. Scene. Sound. Oh, they might not have to. This might be it. No, that's a completely different movie. Boys in YouTube only making their fight scenes posted. It's a good movie. Keanu face blindness, 100%. I realized that as that wasn't the intro, because the intro doesn't start with that. It starts with a man reassuring someone, I think a child, it's been a while since I've seen this, under rubble, and he's telling him the story of his life, which is how it morphs into, or transitions into the whole movie. But he's reassuring this kid and telling him that he's safe and taken care of, and starts telling him about his 5 fathers, because the storyline of the movie is somewhere along the line. I'm going to butcher the hell out of this, but it's somewhere along the lines of, I believe there's a whole group of soldiers, but 5 core ones that survived to the end. I guess, spoilered. And there's this woman that they're stationed with around. They end up, like, keeping her safe, and she was pregnant. I don't know if she's pregnant in the beginning or if she ends up sleeping with one of them or whatever it is, but that's who he considers his 5 fathers, because they protected his mother in wartime. It's a sweet film. It's also a war movie, but it's a sweet film. It's quiet. I love a good war movie too. I feel like I'm a middle-aged man. I like war movies. It's How I Met Your Mother at War, pretty much. This whole series set back in World War II and completed within 2 hours. Bless you. This trailer is not really giving like a good context of the movie. I have seen Saving Private Ryan. The first time I saw it was actually in school. We had a really awesome World War II history teacher. We covered a little bit further from that too. But he started his curriculum at that, and his whole classroom was decorated in World War II stuff. He had a lot of really awesome historical things. But he would let us watch a movie, like, I think once a week, every 2 weeks. Saw Saving Private Ryan, we watched Platoon, a handful of others. Band of Brothers, that sounds familiar. Is that a movie or a TV show? or series. It wasn't a very encompassing trailer. Let's go official, I guess. 12 years ago, shut up. It was an HBO show. I'll have to check it out. Is it still on the Hubbo? The H-P-Ho? Or is all of that on Paramount now? Maybe they're gonna merge with Paramount. I don't think Paramount is as big of a name as Disney, Hulu, Netflix, Prime. It is, hopefully. Find another little fun show for the Matrix. Find another fun show for Mr. Tiger and I to watch. I'm about to finish Modern Family. I have like 6 episodes left. Now I'm allowing myself to watch like 1 episode a day. Because I don't like falling asleep at the season finale. It stresses me out. If I know there's like 3 episodes left in like a series, not the season, but the series that I'm watching to fall asleep to, it makes me anxious. What a life it must be to be a part of my mind. It makes me anxious if I try to fall asleep when there's like only 3 or 4 episodes left. Because it's like, what if it ends like right as I'm falling asleep, and then what else do I put on, and blah, 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 blah. It's on Max. I guess it's on the Hulu, but it requires an add-on, so it has to be on something else too. Maybe Hulu has an HBO Max add-on. See, I feel like that's where all the streaming services like kind of fucked up, is that you can subscribe to another one through the one, and maybe they did that so it's just initially easier later down the line if they merge with anyone else, but God, it fucks my head up. Also, I feel like it's way too easy for kids to hit just a little button and automatically spend mom and dad's money and not know what they're doing. Tom Hardy, I feel like I recognize his name. Was there episodes online? Maybe? Created by Tom Hanks. Okay, yes. And there's a book. I need to check this out. DreamWorks. It's checking all my boxes. I mean, I guess Steven Spielberg is important too, but Tom Hanks! Tom Hanks. Oh, it's a mini-series over the course of 10 episodes. Does it leave off on a cliffhanger, or does it take itself full circle? It is on the Hubbo. What do you think it took you out of the story? Was they had some cameos in it? Oh, that would be kind of confusing. I feel like I would like it. They do that to expand their market. Well, it's confusing to me. They need to stop. Serena for president. It feels like a way to scapegoat out of being a monopoly. And I don't know if I know how to explain that in any kind of intelligent terms, but a monopoly is something that takes over everything. And if everything is available through everything, then each one is a monopoly. But they won't get in trouble for being a monopoly because everyone's a monopoly. I feel like I'm explaining that in the stupidest way possible. Does that make sense? If you think about it in your own broader terms. I want to watch a trailer for it. It sounds like it would be really good. In love, there is hope. It's exactly the opposite of Monopoly, but it's still feeling monopolizing. It's a secret pyramid scheme, but it funnels upward. But it doesn't do anything to benefit anyone else to funnel upward. Highly recommend Stalingrad. It's good. What did you just get so big for? Jesus. That one's newer. See that one? HBO UK. Oh, there's another really good movie I just thought of. I can't remember what it would be. Is it Fly Boys? I don't think. Oh no, it is. Fly Boys was excellent too. I liked that one. A young James Franco. He's a pretty boy. I don't think he's attractive, but I acknowledge that he's a pretty boy. It's more like profit sharing. No, it's a reverse funneling monopoly of monopolization. Stream on a different network, making less earning per customer, but then expanding their user base. See, to me, it feels like, you know how on food ordering apps, or whatever they are, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, when restaurants will open their own second restaurant, like say there's a Panera, and then there's insert generic sandwich shop name, but your order is still coming from Panera, I guess that's what it feels like. More like a spider web, I guess, than a monopoly. But it still feels like a monopoly. It's just how I feel. I have big feelings. He's a good actor, but I feel like everyone drools over how pretty he is. Ordinary men. Extraordinary circumstances. Extraordinary times. True story of the men of easy company. Did they make this into a bumper sticker? I feel like I've seen this on the, not with the words, but on the back of people's cars. This looks good. It's gonna go on my list. Did it come out at the same time as Chernobyl? (2019). I can't do backwards math. (2001). No. I feel like I remember seeing it being pushed around then, though. Ghost Kitchens. It's still up. Nice. The Pacific is also good. Kind of a sequel to Band of Brothers. Like, specifically, or just similar storyline? I see that now. I feel like I remember it being advertised while I was watching Chernobyl, though. They did a really good job of that one. I was watching it when someone I used to be friends with was staying with me, and I'm a talker during shows, like, not insanely, not continuously, but if there's, like, a funny moment or, like, a scary moment, I'm like, oh my goodness. Or like, ah ha 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 ha. You know, normal human reactions to things. And she was really perfecting her Russian at the time and trying to pay attention to every single word that was coming out of everyone's mouth. I got shushed too many times. I had to watch it on my own. You got Justin Bieber, Sean Connery, and Tony Bennett, and Burt Reynolds. Norm Macdonald is playing him. I like Norm Macdonald. I'm not really big on stand-up comedy, but I like Norm. Band of Brothers, more of the year. I had a very difficult time conceptualizing the alphabet. Like, I knew my alphabet, and I was a good reader. I was a strong reader from the start. But I spent a good chunk of time, I don't know how long, and I don't know if my dad even remembers me doing this, but I had to figure out how all of the letters were spelled. Like, it bothered me that letters had sounds and weren't spelled. So I had this whole little notebook where whenever I felt like I wrote them out, like, sounding phonetically first. So, like, L would be like E-L-L. And then it boggled me even further when I went through all of, yeah, G would be like G-E-E, H would be like E-A-E-H. To me, letters needed to have a word behind them that made sense of what they were for how they sounded. And this is, like, absolutely insane and ridiculous, but this is kindergarten Serena level of mind. I had a whole notebook, and I, like, would modify it as I found different words in different books that it sounded similar or different, and it reshaped the full shaping of the letter. But it really did bother me. It was like a fixation for a short period of time that letters were just letters instead of just L or G. It had to be E-L-L or G-E-E. And then I had, like, a little bit of a crisis, and I remember talking to my godmother about this because she was a teacher. And I don't even remember how she explained it or rationalized or justified it to me. But it really got me super hung up on that letters can be made into words, but they're just sounds and they're not. And what is language anyway? Like, I had my first existential crisis in, like, kindergarten, for fuck's sake. You know what you mean? But you chose to. I wish I was able to ignore those thoughts. I was not able to. I got hung up on it. I could not carry on like nothing was wrong, but somehow she made it make sense to me, and I stopped being okay. Because we're all just a bunch of nervous babes. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Those were lovely, and thank you. That was marvelous. Marvelous, darling. Marvelous. Flipping off your nose. Oh, God. As long as you're not just copy Charlie's hairstyle. No, we have a curly mustache. It kind of just makes me look like a cat. These little whiskers. But it's not Charlie's stash. I mean, maybe that's a little... No, that just looks like I have a drippy nose. Or that I do have a Charlie mustache, but maybe I hiccuped while shaving or something. I feel like everyone's nervous to meet anyone at a convention. It is a thrilling atmosphere, though. I like it. To fake it till you make it, as far as confidence goes. Distinguished. Very distinguished. Very distinguished. Wouldn't know what to do? You grace me with your presence. And then we just shoot the shit for a while. Or you can bring me a coffee. That's nice too. Sometimes people bring me coffees, and maybe I shouldn't drink them, but I trust the people bringing me coffees, so it's okay. And that's very nice. a goatee in my other hand? How would you even do that? I don't think I've drawn a goatee before. Wait, I'm not left-handed. Can we even do that? It's gonna have to be a douchey one. What you do is you let yourself be distracted by Pippi. And then all is good in the realm of the world. Honestly, Pippi is the best icebreaker at conventions. That's not why I bring her. But I feel like so many people are nervous that she is like a service dog to the world at conventions. Because if you feel weird or awkward or have like a moment where you're just too overwhelmed, you just take a moment with Pippi. Honestly, I should just get Pippi her own booth like next to ours. Is that even the right way for it to go? I think so. Oops, my goatee is a lot bolder than my mustache, but I feel like that's common. I feel like your mustache grays out faster than your goatee. Fancy. I don't know how to move like this. This is awkward. I'm a burb. Oh my goodness. It's not real love then, Panda. Still chat with me if I had a stash, just won't be seen in public with her if she had a stash. Now you guys have conned me into revealing my first outfit for Exotica. It's just gonna be the glasses with the big nose and the mustache attached to it. Damn, and Panda won't hang out with me. I won't be cool enough. Ugh. Talk to the hand. Talk to the stash. Talk to the goatee. I'm glad I didn't put them wrong. Best statement to level up on that all goatees are douchey. They are, kind of. They are just a little bit. I mean, like, I feel like they're complementary to facial structure when done right. But I feel like there's like people who drive Honda Civics, like the beat up ones, that's a type of person. No shade, but that's a subset of people. And the specifically on purpose douche goatee is also a certain kind of people. It is a subset of people. I would be incognito. And I will be incognito this year if I don't wear wigs. I don't know what characters I want to do. I don't know any cosplay that I want to do this year. I kept thinking most of February, like, it'll just come to me one day. Because usually it does. I'll be in the middle of something and then it's like, I want to do this. I know I want to fix up my Ivy outfit and have that one for a day. But I don't know what else I want to do. I don't know. How long is Poison Ivy's hair? I think in the HBO commercial it's pretty long. Or commercial. HBO show. It's pretty long. Would I have to do a wig or extensions, or is my hair long enough? I'd probably want to do my wig. She has super long mermaid hair. Oh, I want to do a picture like this with Pippi. The banana boat girl concept. That's cute. I like that. That's adorable. I mean, I guess there her hair is shorter, but it's also behind her back. You can't really tell. Person who rocks a Honda Civic tells you a lot about a person. That person needs a job and he's okay with driving it to point A and will find a way to come back to point B by bus. That's about it. I want to do a Harley again this year, but I don't know which version for conventions. To look through what I have. Last year we did Parlay. The year before that I did 2 days of Harley. No, I just did Club Harley, but in 2 different versions. And then the year before I did Suicide Squad Harley, and then the year before that I just did my own cheap closet cosplay Harley. I don't know what to do. Maybe the other version I have of Baby Doll. But I get so self-conscious over that one. I think because it's just so, like, exposed. I don't know. If you don't do it perfectly right, you're gonna look like a grandma. And it's still closet cosplay bits, so it's not, like, perfect. This one. So if you don't do this right, you're gonna look like a grandma. And I feel like it has to be in exactitude. And I don't want to accidentally look like a grandma. But I really like this version of her. Like, it's cute, it's pretty, it's soft, it's very feminine. But if you do it wrong, you're gonna look like a grandma in garters and a brassiere. It gives me the nerves. I have almost the exact top. I would just need to dye it a little bit darker. I have the bottoms, I have the stockings, I have the little overcoat thing. Like, I have it together. But can I execute it? I don't know. I don't know. Do we just do Harley for all 3 days this year? To make up for the 3 missing Harleys in the beginning of this year? I did Baby Doll last year. No, I did Baby Doll the year before. And I think a couple years again before that. I don't know. We'll have to go through the closet sometime this week and figure out what cosplays that I want to do and bring and execute. I don't like repeating them. Holy crap, she is tan. Like, not judging her level of tan, but there's not Baby Doll-esque. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. Go as the Joker nurse, and then I could dress Pippi as Harley for a day. I kind of like that. Yeah, it does border on cutting coupons in bingo. If you don't do it perfect, you're gonna look like a grandma. If you do it perfect, then you look like a beautiful ballerina. But I don't want to accidentally lose, like, half of a detail and look like a fucking grandma. I just can't. There are many situations where I can muster confidence when it should not be there. But when I look like a grandma is not a time that I can muster confidence. Because then I just know it's a problem. It is true. There's someone out there for everyone. Hot grandma is still a niche. But I'm not ready to be hot grandma yet. I'm not ready for that. There's nothing wrong with grandmas. Just, I feel like the worst thing you can hear, one of the worst things you can hear when you're wearing a cosplay that's very intentional is, who are you? Or what is this outfit? Or let me tell you what I think it is based on my visual presumption. And I'm a sensitive little girly. I might cry if someone says, "What, are you dressed up like a grandma?" Like, that hits different IRL than online. Online, it's just someone trolling. Probably. Generally. Usually. In person, it's someone making their general best guess of what you look like for real. It's the first intrusive thought that comes into their mind. And I don't want that. I don't want that. It is a thing, but that wouldn't be my purpose. It would not. Otherwise, Pippi and I would just come with rollers in our hair and big glasses and false teeth and a cane and a bathrobe. Alright, the perspective is considered. Maybe you guys like cute old ladies as much as I like cute old men. Fair. I do love old men. Honestly, okay, I guess flipping the tables, it's not that bad. Because if I saw a cam boy over at the Chatterbait booth, because we're usually across from each other and there's no boys on MFC, and he was dressed like a grandpa, I would probably go over and muster the strength to take a picture. Like, to ask together, not just like to take a weirdo creeper picture. That is a fair point. I would probably seek that out for a moment of enjoyment. Just a moment, though. It's the little things in life. Make sure you have a bingo card in hand. Oh my god. You guys are gonna have me starting a share goal for grandma cosplay. How short is that? I have many lengths of bathrobes. I have probably way too many robes. Way more robes than anyone should own. Between my comfy collection, my vintage collection, and the lingerie collection, which kind of overlaps with the vintage collection, I have a lot of robes. It's not that I like wearing them all the time. I just love robes as a concept. They're fancy. Are the hair rollers slightly falling out of the hair? Oh, that's the stuff. And what if I bend over slowly because my back aches to pick up that newspaper at the end of the driveway, huh? It's an eye-raising moment. I actually slowed down the other day. Like, there was a stop sign, but I slowed down faster for it than I normally would. Because there was an old lady that did not have like a cane or a walker, but sure looked like she should have, bending over at the end of her steps to pick up her paper. And I had to slow down and watch, not like creepishly, like ooh la la, but genuinely to make sure she got back up and like turned around to walk back inside. I was ready to pull over and help Grandma. I was nervous. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Need like a fancier fan than this for that one, though. I don't know who Becky Lynch is. I don't have enough boobs or enough muscles to be a WWE character. Whoever she is, I don't have enough boobs or muscles for that. You need boobs and muscles. It's getting warm in here. Like when you lean over while vacuuming, Grandpa gets to see the pasture. God. Grandpa can see whatever he wants because he bought me a whole house connected vacuum. That's the motivation behind that one. Oh God, I want one of those so bad. Once I'm settled in the French, I want to see how expensive it would be to do some kind of setup like that. If I don't plan on peeling up the carpet, like if there's nothing nice under the carpet, I'm probably just going to tolerate the carpet for whatever chunk of time until I hate it. And then I'll just decide one day to rip it all up like I did in the basement. There was no plan to that. I got a few steps into it and then I called my grandpa to borrow a crowbar because I couldn't get up the little side tack things with just a hammer. Now I have that crowbar. It's my crowbar. My crowbar. I can be over there. It's getting hot in here, so take out all your rollers. Right, I gotta go tinky really quick, and then we're gonna bop in with Miss Peems. Then probably spend a little bit of time with Tigra. He's watching the Thundercats right now. He's watching his namesake. And then we'll bop down for story time with Gigi. I got really thrown off tonight by the sink doing a drippy drew. That was not expected. I don't want to fix it. Should we fix it on stream? I think I just need to rewrap the plumber's tape. I think that's what I wrapped improperly before, and it's probably corroded a bit since then from not being used. I don't know I don't know things about plumbing. Kind of a pain to install, a lot of tearing off the walls. The upside being that you could zip through and tape in mud after the drywall got put up. Exactly. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it's either the smoothest plaster ever or drywall for most of the walls. Some of the walls had to be redone, so those are drywall for sure. I should have asked them to leave like something open, but that wouldn't make sense because then Slavka would get in there. I don't think it would be too hard to do. And there's also, I think there's a funky little hallway closet. The Franch has a similar layout. My grandma lived in like, not a trailer, but like a trailer-sized house, if that makes sense. A very small build kind of situation. And the hallway for the Franch has the same bedroom and bathroom divot off as my grandma's house did, and mentally it's hard to separate between the two. I think it's the Franch and not my grandma's house that has the little utility closet in the hallway, which would be kind of a perfect spot to have it. And then I could just have it in there so I could clean it out easily. But then run the tube just through a little, like, outlet cutout through the side. If I'm thinking of the right house. That was kind of one of the reasons I fell in love with the Franch, though. It reminds me of my grandma's house. My grandma's house was my favorite. If any of the... I don't think the original listings would still be up. I don't want to show someone else's decor. Oh my god, what's the address? This is where I spent most of my time growing up as a kid. Whoa, it's so different. They changed the siding and everything. It has a fence up now. I found the Google Earth version of it. Is it not on any realtor sites? That's shocking. That's kind of sad. There used to be the original pictures from when she moved out, and I used to look up the realtor pages a lot. I haven't driven by there lately, but it looks so different out in front. It used to be all red. It's like generic tan siding now. It's weird. It's very weird. It's where I grew up. I don't, what would you call that? Like, it's not a trailer and it's not a mobile home, but it's a small house. 'Cause that was the living room. No. That was the... They took away the garage. That was the garage. So they converted the garage into another room. That's the living room. That's the entryway. The kitchen is behind it. And then there's a hallway in between, like an office or a small bedroom. And then a small bedroom over here. And then the master bedroom is behind. There's no basement to it, though. It's not a split level. And then just a crawl space underneath. If you guys remember the creepy man story. I loved it. Taxes are awful in this town. Otherwise, I would have really, really tried hard to move there instead of here. It was a wonderful house. I loved it. I have so many good memories there. It's so weird that it looks so different, though. It used to be red. It used to be having a garage. Like, wow. The garage was kind of small, though. I get it. I had a pet butterfly in the garage. Which was just to say I found a dead butterfly outside and got overly emotional about it. This was pre being terrified of butterflies. It was before I had my terrifying butterfly incident. And I was sad, and my grandma understood that I didn't want it to be, like, thrown away. But it was dead. But I was really sad about the idea of, like, throwing it away or, like, leaving it outside. I had emotional crisis over this butterfly. So she brought out one of her old bird cages, and we made it its own habitat, and I had a pet dead butterfly. I remember crying my eyes out when she, like, picked it up and was, like, gonna throw it away. My grandma was very always, My mom's mom was very emotionally in tune. Like, if I was overreacting about something that didn't deserve an overreaction, but it was coming from an emotional place, not just like an overtired place, she would respect whatever my wishes were for that, and I appreciate that very much. Very, very much so. Butterfly hero villain origin story. Oh my goodness. No, it wasn't hooked up to a string. He was just in like a little bit of like flowers and leaves at the bottom, but like stood up. That was my pet butterfly. I didn't name him. He was just my pet butterfly, and he was in that garage until my grandma didn't live there anymore. And then my dad must have thrown him away when I was not looking, because I don't remember what happened to him, but he was already dead from the get-go, so it doesn't really matter, but I had a dead pet butterfly. That's, I think, a really weird thing now that I say it out loud. It was cute when it was in my head. Now that I've said it out loud, it's a little weird. He was a good friend, though. No, we can't bring it back because I'm afraid of butterflies. Now I'm afraid of them. That was before I was afraid of them. It was probably at like age 3, 4, 5. And I think I was like 7 or 8 when I was traumatized by butterfly. I'll be right back. I gotta go tinky. Oh wait, if Boy's going tinky, I gotta wait till he's done. I don't want to disturb his piece of pea presence. No, I became afraid of butterflies because one landed on my shirt on a Mother's Day cookout that we were having. And I think it was the first time in my life that I had a panic attack. Because it was right on my shirt, like right here. And I was afraid to hurt it by brushing it away. But I didn't want it on me that close. Like, it was strange and scary and just way too close, like in my personal space. I did not consent to this. And I started crying, and all of the adults around me were like, "It's so beautiful. I can't believe it landed on you. It chose you." And I was crying so hard that I couldn't get the words out of like, "Please get it off of me." So it's just like on my shirt for minutes and minutes and minutes, and I'm just crying. And I think they thought because I'm an emotional kid that I was crying because it was beautiful, but I was having a panic attack instead. And yeah, then someone finally understood to like, you know, get it off and take it to a flyaway place, but that was after some intense bawling my eyes out. That's why I'm afraid of butterflies. They get too close for comfort. And it's a flying creature. And it's delicate and fragile. It's a complicated feeling. Welcome, Matrix. I'm doing good tonight. Hope you're doing well as well. You got it, Voya. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. I think I just didn't evolve past my caveman days. I'm afraid of all flying insects. They all feel like a threat. Just very much so. Dragonflies especially. I find them particularly threatening. I yell at them when they're flying around in the yard and I'm cleaning the yard in the summer. You have to holler at them to get away from you. I feel like they're just naturally attracted to me. All flying insects, which is a crazy theory. I'm not special. But oh my god, boy, I really need to pee. I can't think when I have to pee. All flying insects, I feel like, come way too close to me, and I don't like that, and I don't appreciate that, and it incites immediate adrenaline. So then my heart is like pounding as if there's a masked murderer chasing me, but instead it is a dragonfly or a butterfly or a bee. I don't know. I'm not really scared of bugs. Like the creepy crawly ones, they don't bother me. But flying insects are terrifying. They're absolutely terrifying. Cavemen are documented for crying at butterflies. Look at me, I'm a beautiful butterfly. It's just the sense of like a predatory thing flying around. I think that's why birds make me really uncomfortable too. I would say I'm afraid of birds. I can learn to be comfortable and tolerant and get over my fear when necessary. But anything that will fly unpredictably gives me a severe, like a really heavy dose of adrenaline. And it doesn't feel good. And I've never really been able to combat that. It's just something you live with. You can do it, Voya. You got this. You don't have to kick the litter all over into 1,000 places, though. Don't need to. It's just the flying creatureness is terrifying. It's scary. I don't think I evolved past that, like, predator fear response. Somewhere in my genetics. Still fight or flight, hunter style. But I'm a gatherer. So I gather my things and run. I run. Like, I'm sure my neighbors really get a kick out of me in the summer, honest to God. Because I will scream like a little kid and run and flail. And sometimes even rip my clothes off responsibly when there's a bug. Or I'll bargain with them. That's my favorite. Like, you stay over here, I stay over here. It's mutual respect. Mutual respect. Alright, good job, buddy. Good job. Good job. Okay, we made a mess. That's enough. That's enough. We're good. You did it. I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. I'm very happy for you and your choices. Good job, my friend. Good job. Excellent work. Perfectly executed. Mess level, 10 out of 10. You have achieved your goals. This is Voya's Stream the Dreams project. Okay. I'll be right back. I need to go tiki. Butterfly by Crazy Town. I don't know what that song is. I don't know it. Hello, Tigra. You need more water in your bowl. Were you a thirsty boy tonight? A thirsty bow. A thirsty bobo. My phone should have a good charge, so you shouldn't have to charge it until story time later. 91%. Yeah. It's a good summer song of the 2000s. Maybe I do know it. I don't know many song names. Or artists. But I can hum a lot of things. My dad always mentions like new songs that he's played or this, that, or the other, and he'll tell me what it is, and he's like, "You know this," and I'm like, "I have no idea what this is. What does it sound like?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, I know this." He's making a duck face. Friend stole it. It looked really cool. I used to modify most of my t-shirts. I still have a bunch of them, but I don't know why I don't wear them. I just forget that I have them. I should wear them more. But I made it into like a cropped tube top, and then it like laced up on the sides and the back. It was really, really schnazzy. And then of course, "Can I borrow this?" And then you never get it back. You never get it back. Never. I don't think Dare is Dare anymore. I think we looked this up within the last couple of months. Dare is something else now, isn't it? We just went. Now it's keeping it real. Gotta keep it real. What does real stand for? I don't remember. Refuse, explain, avoid, and leave. You're just being weird for no reason? Okay. The original Dare shirts were black. We got gray ones. They were not cool. They also had our school info on the back of it. I wonder if they were bootleg shirts. I wonder. Try to think if we ever had like an official officer even come to us. I don't think so. I remember watching a video. That was my first public speaking incident, and I've told you guys about that one before, where I don't like public speaking. That was the first time I had done public speaking, and it was horrible, and my voice shook the whole time, because we had to write essays of what Dare meant to us, or somewhere along the lines of that, and mine was the best, so it got chosen to be read at like the whole graduation assembly, where you turn in the piece of paper that your parents sign that says, "I'll come get you no matter what." No, they won't. You're gonna get in trouble anyway, but they don't tell you that because you're young and dumb then. I think we're in like 6th grade. And I had to read my essay for the assembly, and my voice was shaking the whole time I was reading. It was bad. It was really bad. There's so much pressure. I was like coached beforehand that like you look up and read like this, and like you make note cards and eye contact and different points of the audience and this, that, and the other. And I got so nerve-wracked after the first like just chunk of paragraph that I read the rest of it just straight down like this because it was all I could do. The Dare program was more about getting kids to rat out people. Yeah, because if your moral compass like hugely latches onto it, it becomes like a god complex. Like you are the neighborhood watch. And some people don't grow out of the Dare complex, I guess. Call the program Truth. Yeah, honestly, it should be more along the lines of that. Everyone in this classroom is going to either do drugs or not. We need to teach them how to do it safe. I mean, there should be more... And same thing with sex education. I mean, there should be more actual education rather than just abstinence is the only option kind of mentality. Because you're going to experience those things, and you're going to make choices about those things, but how to be safe to do so, it's difficult, I think, especially on a public school level. There should be more community events where, like, there's just a seminar or something an hour long on Saturday that goes through that with kids instead of... I don't think that it'll ever be done on a school level that way, sadly. Because that's just not curriculum that they're going to be funded to present. And in private schools, they're certainly not going to present that because they want everyone to be a perfect little straight-A student. I was actually really surprised around graduation time last year. This is like forever ago. But one of the really, really nice private schools by me had on their display thing that like tells you the weather and the time and then like other things and events like the whatever that's called. Somewhere along the lines of I think there was like 90 something graduating kids and 35 were accepted into colleges, which I know we kind of see colleges not truly as necessary as like when I was graduating high school. It's like you're gonna go to college or you're gonna work at McDonald's. That's it. There's only two choices in life. Now it's a bit more of an open policy, but I'm surprised. Like that's a very expensive private school. I am very, very surprised. I guess public school I would understand not really going to college or going to community college or going to a trade instead. That makes a little bit more sense. But when your parents are paying, like, I don't even know how much tuition is. A lot? I mean, I feel like you should be working towards college. I guess kids don't always get a choice in that, though. What's the name of the school? I don't know what that means. Oh, there it is. $14,425 a year. I feel like either you should tell your parents, like, bro, I need to be in public school, or have a college plan if they're paying $15K a year for school. For 4 years, that's $60K. Yes, it's $60K. Oh my god. That's a lot of money. Marquee is probably the closest term. Along the lines of. I think it's not that they didn't get into college, just a lot of them probably didn't apply. But for less than half of the kids to be accepted into college is pretty insane. Welcome, JFKs. Hope you're having a good night so far. Welcome. You're just in time to go see the baby. The baby. The baby, baby, baby. It's a lot of money. Maybe, like, half of them just all conned their parents into, like, yeah, I'm totally gonna go to college to get the easy ride. I don't think it's an easy ride there. And then just graduate and, like, well, taking a gap year. Although, honestly, maybe a lot of them did take a gap year to work. I didn't consider that. Because that's a common thing, too. That makes a little bit more sense. Should be on over there. I'm gonna flip us over. Blurp. Blurp, blurp. You're the odd one out. I mean, no one could make fun of you because you'd be graduating. So at least you wouldn't have to, like, reface your peers. Tank test us. Tanky tank. Beautiful. Well, your peers that went to college just in half made use of their education. I feel like that's pretty common. I mean, for all the shit that I'm talking, put it very over-exaggeratedly, I really don't think you should make the choice to go to college or, like, decide what's going on with your life until age 25 because you really don't know what you're doing. You're not fully mentally developed. Person changes careers many times throughout their lifetime. But it is unfortunate that a lot of people can't find a career point. That's not going to stay there. within whatever their degree is too, or to turn out not even liking it or using it or having it be any kind of profitable. Private schools with some of the hardcore drugs. I don't think they would have. The one by me though, they hair follicle test there, because there's a couple kids I went to school with that transferred over there for their last couple of years. And they do hair follicle drug tests, which is crazy. They do that because they did have a huge problem with cocaine a good chunk of years ago, though, so it makes sense. You're right, but they've altered the process, perhaps. I gotta make you smart Mleko, don't I? She's so cute. Hello, little rumbler. Hello. How you doing, little peebs? She's now doing little meows. Meow. We're watching Curious George today. She's giving me a meow every time I've come to see her today. I love it. It makes me so happy. She's so cute. She's so cute. I just got another one. Hi. Hello, Tiny Bean. Hello, Tiny Bean. High school definitely should have more realistic classes, like animal advocacy ones, like I was talking about last night. But also, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I am so lucky that I failed math, because my remedial math course to get my credit was all like life skills stuff. And why didn't anyone else get taught that? Like, I feel like my smart peers, it's fantastic. They know calculus, geometry, all of those things, but like amortization tables, I guess if you're that smart, they just expect you to figure everything out. But if you're not told the layout of it before you even start having to figure it out, like what it would apply to, like I knew what I was expecting applying to a loan for anything. My smart calculi peers may not have. You can figure it out, but it's learning about the whole process that's so helpful. So very helpful. 1 + 1 = 1 on a bun. You're so cozy and rubby. 1 on 1 = 1 on a bun. You get a gold star. You get a PD kiss if you know what that's from. I love her. Aw, and eat your head. She says, "Put me down, don't eat my head. Not edible, and just a baby. And just a baby. No free butts. Girlfriend. I'm gonna make you more Mleko in a minute." She's so cute and cuddly. She says, "You're giving this pupper all of the attention. What about me? What about me?" I woke up late this morning, so she did get less of my attention today. She's being very clingy right now. Very cute. Very silly. My little baby girl. I love her so much. You gonna chew on my leg? Hello. Hi. I'm so torn on what to do to her. Or what to do not to her, with her. I am so in love with her, but I know I'm in love with every animal. But I feel so like close and bonded with her. But with fostering, goodbye is always the goal, and I want to be able to help more buddies. Like, oh my god. My mind keeps justifying, like, you'll have space at the ranch. And that's completely outside of all of the other nuanced factors that I need to figure out surrounding her. Like, i.e. her pending adopter prior, and I still need to figure that one out. But I don't know what we're doing with you, PB. I don't know what to do. She's going to be for adoption. I need to start touting it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't. We'll figure it out, though. We'll figure it out. Is that from Fetty Wap? No, it's from Ed, Edd n Eddy. The dumbest Ed says it. He goes, 1 on 1 = 1 on a bun. I was pretty sure no one would guess that. 1 on 1 equals 1 on a bun. I love me some Etta and Nettie. Right, I'm gonna make her some leco. I will be right back. Enjoy the musical stylings of Curious George in the background. Oh, Curious Jorge. Oh, hello, big puppy. Your cat paws. Oh no, that's rude. Don't they know? Don't they know? Continue watching. Why did you press the button? Why did you press the button? Ow. Hi, Pete.
George wondered why his new friends ran away with their Mrs. Wiggins.
Right, George? I see you found one of our many gopher holes.
So those guys were gophers. Never seen gophers?
Every time I walk by the bathroom, I'm mad. The cabinets are open and there's a fan blowing and just there's so much evidence of destruction. So much. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. I hate dealing with plumbing. Take it apart on string tomorrow. Need moral support. Oh, then we gotta mix it up with the probiotic. You do. You gotta mix it up. You can't have yet. You can't have yet. Being so cute at my feet. So like, give to me. Give to me. You gotta make it to have it. As with most things in life, you gotta make it to have it. Hey, you ready for your probes, peebs? Oh, that sounds weird. Never mind. Finally, broke down and ordered more syringes on Amazon. Should be here, I think, tomorrow. Because I'm down to like 2. Fancy Frappuccino. It's a beef Frappuccino. I think, anyway. I don't know what the probiotic is flavored with, but it smells meaty. Fancy Frappuccino. Should I start making it in like a martini shaker? Yummy! One more. One more. They just don't make these like they used to anymore. I think we had like the same plastic syringes for medicine my whole life at my dad's house. He probably still has them and they work just fine. And these will break after just a few uses, which is ridiculous. Quality has gone down. She's so cute and tiny. She's adorable. I love her. She's also gonna play with the string on my shirt. Goofy. To see if Starbucks will make you a beef frappuccino. I think the cool new thing now is a protein cold foam. I don't think I can try that because I'm assuming the protein part of it is heavily based in dairy. That's the new thing I'm seeing everywhere. Yeah, PB, we don't draw on the walls. Just kidding, she doesn't draw on the walls. I didn't even draw on the walls, but I used to rip down wallpaper. It was just satisfying. I think I told you guys about that. I started peeling it. It would, I think just because of the moisture, where you'd hang towels in my bathroom when I was a kid. and it started peeling off just a little bit from there. And then I peeled it more and more and more because it was satisfying to peel. And then my dad discovered one day, because it's his house, he lives there, that the wallpaper was torn down. And my little liar ass said, "The cats did it. It's not my fault." Not knowing that damn well it would be evident if the cats did it versus if someone just went. That was a time to be alive. I was a weird kid. Did learn how to put wallpaper up. Like to fix it, so that was nice. But I do like taking wallpaper down in general. It's satisfying. It says whey protein, so not vegan. Nope. I hate wallpaper. I don't blame you. Wallpaper is kind of a bitch when you don't want it there, and I do get kind of annoyed when it's towards the, I don't know, like the last third of finishing a room that's fully wallpapered. But I generally like it. It's satisfying. It's very Mr. Miyagi-ish. You just soak on, start it with a little scraper and then rip down, and then soak on and scraper and rip down. You can just sand little bits of wallpaper glue that are left. It's therapeutic. It's very therapeutic, okay? Welcome, John. I hope you're having a good night so far. I don't think I'll ever be one to put up wallpaper. I don't really like how it looks, but I accept it if it's there and I don't mind it. But I don't mind taking it down either. When my dad redid his bedroom, he hired me to take down all of the wallpaper in there, which I think at the time I owed him like a certain chunk of change, and that was just, you do this, and therefore your debt is wiped. I think I owed him like $100 or $200. One of my many fun young calls from my vet's office to, "Dad, don't be mad, but can I ask?" Oh my goodness. It's been a good night so far. Actually, it's been an interesting night. It has been good all around. But my bathroom sink took a pee on the lower cabinet. It was leaking and dripping earlier, so I was a little late to stream tonight. But other than that, it's been a good one. It's been a good one. Problem is the wallpapers they make with nylon or plastic to make them stain resistant. Oh, see, I've never encountered those. Just not just the easy peasy stuff. I haven't encountered those. That maybe I would not like. You have to score them. 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10. 4 out of 10. 6 out of 10. That would be annoying to add an extra step to it, though. I think that would take the joy out of it that I have, because I just like the soak it down, the peel it up, the wipe it off, the move on. Need French scores, gotta get them low. Oh my goodness. What are you doing, Mama? She's just laying under the chair purring like a motor. I don't know why this is her happy place lately, but it is. She's purring so big. Making biscuits. Like, what? Yeah, hi everybody. What is your thrilling point here? The blanket with the tag? The what? The what? Hey, sissy. She's gonna get you guys. Peekaboo. Oh, you're so zoomy. Where are we going? You gonna peekaboo from there now? She's so stealthy. So stealthy. I wanted to play peekaboo with you. Peek. 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 What? Where are you going? Where are you going? Peek. This is a slice of what my life is like every day. Peek! Let me try and keep the camera on her, but like move me. Peek! Get flying leap. Do. She always runs away like she's doing something so naughty. She has that skulky little run of like, I got away with it. You doing circles? Peek. Peek. Tech cat. Tech cat. Tech cat. She just has so many thoughts moving through her head at one time. This one, this one, this one. She needs kitty Adderall. Her tail is getting so tall. But she has such a weird stance. I'm so curious what she's going to turn into. You can see the wheels turning, but in what direction and to what? I don't know. I don't know. Do. Boo. Peekaboo. She says, gotcha. She has such a funny little head. What are you going to turn into? She really does have like her own little obstacle course figured out for herself tonight. This is neurotic. And get your butt. I can't help it sometimes. I know that's not the nicest thing in the world to do, but I can't help it. I can't help it. The intrusive thoughts win. Boop. She's under there purring. Why are you so weird? I love you. I love you. You're a strange bird. So rumbly. You know what? That's a fair point. You are not wrong. Sometimes you see a booty hanging out and it demands a response. You just gotta. Can't help it. Can't help it. You got a cute little butt. Little fluffy butt. She's making biscuits. She's so strange. Not talking shit, but I don't know. Maybe all outside born kitties are like this. I don't remember Munster being this weird though. But I guess Munster wasn't truly street born. Because he had people. The litter was born and they were moving and they took the mama cat with them when they moved and they just left Munster and his brother. I think they're about 4 weeks old at that time because I think it was about a week after she found them that I brought Munster home. They just left them in a box on the back porch and thankfully a girl I went to school with was a good neighbor and heard them and listened out for them and come here, sis. Found the little guys. Poor kids. Yeah, people are stinky. You're stinky indeed. I have a cat hair in my mouth. I mean, like, I guess to be fair, if you know there's an animal lover next door, you know that they'll listen out and hear for them, because I listen for every crazy animal sound outside, i.e. making friends with my neighbor's husky, which I think is a Malamute, but I don't know, I'm just going to call it a husky because it's easier. But then at the same time, you should drop them off on their porch, or like, better yet, don't be a shitty person. I still don't ever understand the mentality about that. They were rather sickly, So maybe they just thought they wouldn't survive, but it's still inexcusable behavior. Just completely inexcusable behavior. Come here. You don't need to stay under the chair. Oh my goodness, you're a wild little potato. She says, yes, I do need to stay under the chair. I have energy right now, Mom. You do energetic things. Hello? Hello? Oh, are you going to lick my eyeball? It's very awkward. Hello? 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 I actually liked Munster's brother more than Munster, but he was already claimed by her uncle because she bottle fed them for about a week after she found them, and then they went to their respective homes. And Munster was such a sweet boy. Munster ate on his own when I brought him home, but he still couldn't potty on his own. So that was when I had learned to help stimulate them like Mom would, which is a little bit gross, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I probably should still have given him milk at that time, but I did not know all that I know now. I mean, like, here's my 12-week-old milk drinker. That's the equivalent to like a 3-year-old still sucking on my titty. I've become one of those moms, apparently. They do like my necklace. I don't know if it's because it's shiny or just like a hanging thing, but they definitely play with it more than my hair. It's very, very different. We're exploring the acorn. I want the booty, but I can't be mean twice. You're just on a little kitty mission. On a little kitty mission. Come here. Come here. Come here. I love you. Thank you. Aw, love her, girl. Come here. Ah, Slovenia. Feliz Navidad. Merry Christmas. Flying PB. Flying PB. What'd you think, sissy girl? See, I think I gotta go back under. Oh no, I think I gotta climb up the tripod. I think that's what I gotta do. Hey, get a tech support. We gotta fix these wires. It's a bad connection. There we go. All better.
What if someone else goes with me and opens the door from inside? There's no room for another man.
She got big aspirations to be a moneymaker in life. She's practicing that pole.
10, 9, 8,
PB says hi.
5, 4, 3,
She has such a funny way of moving. Doop, 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 doop. My little weirdo. I love her. I love her. I love her. I love her. She's so cute. Just hoping for baby's first emote. Soon. I don't think I can actually emote from here. No, because it's the restream layout. Boo. We'd have to be on one platform or the other having chat open. Then she could emote us. She could put an emoji. Just not an emote. Boo. Boo. No milestones tonight. Sorry, baby daddies. Get your waffle. Waffle. Not waffle. Ah, you on my foot. You scared me. I didn't expect that. You startled me. She got me. She got me good. I gotta refill your food bag. It's amazing how much less kitten food you buy with one eating it instead of 4 eating it. It's lasted so long, and I was buying it like every week before. And this bag has lasted us since like January. It's crazy. Alright, let's put this back in the fridge so I don't forget. Hey, dude, you got my toes! You got my toes! You got my toes! She got my toes, in case you guys couldn't tell. She got my toes.
George's game of soccer ball.
Hello, wild lady. She makes me happy. She comes to greet me. She attacks my leg. I love her. Toes, toes, toes. Oh, was that scary? Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry. She's pacing herself. Gotta watch her figure. Yes, she must remain robust. She is adorably round. I mean, part of it is just her floof, but she's not chunky. She just has that shape. You can still feel all of her bones. She just has that funny little shape about her. I guess she is getting a little bit more proportionate. She walks with such a funny walk. I don't know how to quantify that. I love you. Oh, I love you. You want to tack my arm? Oh. So this is love. Ba-da-da-da. So this is love. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Boop. Nom 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 nom. She is ridiculous and I love her. Blurp. Oh, you stole it from me. You stole it from me. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. So choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. Artistic sock match. You know, now I realize this one is inside out. Oopsies. But I can only find one of each, and I figured it would just be a look. It is very autistic. And one of them is inside out, but we don't know that. It's not true. It's not real. The closet is a mess right now. I plead the fifth. It was on purpose. Definitely chosen. Actually, it was. I had another pair of socks out too, but I chose these. Just switch it up a little bit. I couldn't help it. Okay, I gotta stop doing that. It's not nice. It's not just nice to go around. Oops. To go around eating butts. It's not the nicest thing in the world to do. Oops. Whoops. Baby. We gotta do puppy dinner. Puppy dinner. Puppy dinner. I looked back at stream and connection was horrible outside last night. I don't know if that was battery or connection in general. It was really bad. And my apologies. I am going to try it again tonight though, just to see what the level of bad tonight is. If it's consistently bad or if it was a battery issue. Which reminds me, I should plug this in. Just so it's for sure not a battery issue. Hi, baby girl. I love you. We gotta feed the pupperdoos. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Tiger did eat breakfast today, so I was able to give him a painkiller with breakfast, and it helped a little bit. I think most of his whining is honestly anxiety, but I don't really think you should just raw dog life post-surgery either. Like, that doesn't feel good. There we go. I was about to fall out. I love you, peeps. Doot, 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 doot. Should we name her Boop? She got kind of a little Betty Boop walk. She likes the nosy boops. I guess that she responds to. Boop. Boop boop be doop. Hi, pretty girl. You gonna get the paws? We gotta get the paws. Oh, we gotta ditch the paws. Spot a new battery for your phone. Too lazy to get a new phone for now. That's not bad for a little portable battery, though. They're much cheaper than they used to be, which I appreciate. They're much more a commonplace thing now. I like Peeps for her too, but it's so basic. It's a street kitty name. It's what I named them to not fall in love with them. But like, did I fall in love with her? Yes. Do I fall in love with all of them? Yes. I don't know. Not that I don't feel this way with every animal, because I feel this way with Gigi, for crying out loud. But we have a special connection. You can't have a special connection with 1,000 dogs, cats. You can't do that. Then you're crazy. But I think we've already crossed that bridge, so I don't know. It requires thought. Oh, not a portable battery replacement, integrated one. That's awesome. That's a great price for that. Holy shit. Once again, did it fall off the back of a truck? I joke, but that's amazing. That is incredible. Fuck yeah. Peebs also makes me think of Phoebes from Friends. And she, like, both kind of does have that attitude, but then doesn't have that attitude. Really. It is string must chase. Slightly used or refurbished stuff generally isn't that bad, though. Could have been a 5-finger discount. I feel like slightly used or refurbished used to be a huge red flag. And now it's much more reasonably done. Don't get me wrong, there are still scammers out there, but the phrasing holds more integrity than it used to. Doot, 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 doot. You're so cute, you sucker me into everything. Peebs says, what about a 5-string discount? I want 5 new strings. And all the strings. All the strings. All the strings. She's hilarious. Bloop bloop. You over it. Zoomy demon hours. Where are you going next? Boop. Boop. Activate. Boop. Activate. Boop. Activate. She's so sick of my shit. Hey, baby girl. Hello, my sweet mommy. She's overstimulated right now. She doesn't know what she wants. She wants to play. She wants to love. She wants to sleep. I mean, she's, only 12 weeks old. That's like, what, maybe like a 2 in like people years? And it's 1:11 in the morning. What do you expect from a 2-year-old that stayed up that late? Come on now. It's climbing the walls. Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Zoom, doop, 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 doop. Alright, we gotta feed the puppies, Mustang. Pardon. I gotta stop saying puppies because I guess it's the senior center, but oh my goodness. He's probably gonna do it a lot when he eats. Tiger is coughing a lot more today, which if it's any worse tomorrow, I'm just gonna run up to the emergency vet. It's not worth stressing over. It's worth what you pay to walk into the door to not stress about it. But he is kind of, it's partially my fault for being anxious over it because it does give me PTSD because Backup had a horrible, horrible cough while he was dying. And now whenever any dog coughs, I'm like, they're dying. It's the end of the world. Triggered. And that sounds dramatic, but unfortunately it's true. We just have to laugh. Otherwise we're crying. The bathroom fan is horribly loud too. I apologize. I think there was water leaking in there from last night. So I'm really trying to dry it out. Hi, buddy boy. Oh, he being relaxy. He a good boy in the bed with his Thundercats. Why, like, every 3 episodes, HBO's stopping? That's so rude. That's so rude of them. But if his coughing is worse tomorrow, like, noticeably, then, I'm just gonna take him up to emergency. Like, it's not a huge deal, but he felt warm to me earlier, too. I meant to touch him. He feels back to normal temperature now. Okay. Like with Chauncey, you can't feel it with all dogs. Burger when their coats are thicker, but Chauncey, I could always feel when he had a fever because he would be physically warm. You can't like check their foreheads like us, but if they have a high enough fever, you can feel the warmth in their body. Oh, are you ready for some dinner? Oh, or is he a seal now? Or. All right, babies. They ate breakfast together today, so we're gonna try and do dinner together again. Gonna try. And we try. And we try, and we run into mom with the cone. For why? For why? For why? Dogs are always puppies and cats are always kittens. That is true. But they're like the senior center. We have puppies here. It's confusing. It's very confusing. Have a little bit of coffee. Coffee, 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 coffee everywhere. All right, let's make your yums. Where did I put your bowl? I put it up here. There we go. Hi, sis. Ah, sorry. Hi. This one's for Miss Pippi. And then yours we gotta get from the other bed. Excuse me. No, it's not your time. It's not your dinner time, you know. Let me get some wet food. Bloop, bloop. Bloop, bloopy doop. Hello, handsome boy. He's much less whiny today. He's much more not as stressed out. Slowly getting into the swing of things. I think pain pill helps too, but you know, we do as we do. Oh, I meant to grab you a pill pocket. I forgot. No, you're fine. You're a big diva. Yes, you is. You a diva. You a diva, baby. You a boo boo boo. A boo boo boo. I'm giving him like a quarter of the dosage that would be for his weight. Only because I don't want to overdo it. Because it's not prescribed for him by the vet. It's Fonzie's old meds. So just in case he has a gnarly reaction to it, I'm doing way, way less than what would be recommended. Still enough to take the edge off, but not as heavy hitting as could be. You have to be very, very careful with ACE. Oops. Very, very careful. Welcome to Black Fedora. Aw, Day is the cutest. Thank yous. Hey, thank you for the gifted. It's very sweet of you. Thank you for supporting the Stream the Dreams project. Thank you for being the awesome human that you are. We appreciate you. Thank you. Woo, 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 woo. We appreciate it very much. Where's the other quarter? Well, that's missing somewhere. So it's a safe amount for Pippi to take, so it's fine. But, oops. I will have to vacuum deeply before the cats are back up. Oops it is. Oops it is. Maybe you did it for the validation, but you are helping me on my goal to save the world, which is very meaningful and magical, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Free treat. Be on the floor. I have no idea where the other piece of that went. Pippi knows Pippers. There you go, sis. Alright, son. Hungry time. I know. He doesn't like eating in the code. We're figuring it out. I know. We'll try this way. Look. Look. There it is. Okay, now we got it. We're big and brave and strong. We're big and brave and strong. Good job. He stops to chew his bites like a good boy, but then it all gets lifted up. It's okay. I suppose I could take the coat off while he eats, but then he'll just get upset each time that I put it back on. I don't think it's worth it. Oops, we lost a kibble. Rogue kibble down the slide. There you go. Oh, it's so yummy, so delicious. So delicious and nutritious. It's rich salmon and sweet potato kibble. Yummy. Okay, you can't eat straight. You're not a goat. What are you doing? What are you doing? There you go. It'll be back to normal soon. I know this is frustrating. I'm sorry. I know it's frustrating. You have another kibble in your list. There you go. Just falls right out of his coat into the bowl. Here you go. You did it. No, you don't go by Pippi's bowl. There's your pill. Go boy. You leave her be. I'm pretty sure he has no motivation to get into anyone else's bowls, but I'd like to make sure and reinforce that. Hey. Good boy. He's very mindful. He's very mindful. He is wearing the coat of shame. He got neutered. He got neutered. No more nuts. Snip, 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 snip. His sutures are glued shut, but he still keeps licking down there, and he's kind of red, so we gotta put the cone of shame on him. Poor boy. Poor boy. The little baby man. The little baby man. Are you ready to go outside? I think Pippi's done and ready. I think so. We gotta put on pants and clothes. Poor feather, we mourn for our home. I'm sorry. That's probably, I keep hearing that's probably a sensitive topic when I bring it up. It probably is a little cringe. A little cringe between the legs. My bad. Goat. Oh, wait, I think I've seen commercials for that lately. It looked cute. It's Steph Curry. It's based on his little story, right? I don't know much about sports, but the commercial has been overplayed enough that I know things. Don't laugh at me. I can know things without knowing things. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's very chilly tonight. We got the super cool flannel unders going on. Alright, Club Cult, we're going on an adventure. Wait, what is my battery level? We are cooking. We are at 70%. That's beautiful. My phone is behaving tonight. I love this for us. We are Carhartted up, just no Carhartt pants. I want the bib pants. I really like those, but I need to get them in person. Oh, that's quite a look. I want to get them in person so that they're sized properly, because I don't want to have to deal with returns for that. And I need to be brave and go out in public, and I haven't done that. At least not for that capacity. Why am I doing this? I'm taking this off the tripod. It might go like underwatery, garbly, breaky uppy. I have no idea. It did yesterday, but I don't know if it's a battery issue or if it's a signal issue. So we'll figure out which. It's a cartoon about a goat who plays basketball in a world of animals. Yeah, but I think Steph Curry was a part of it. In my view of chat, do I see reply quotes? I don't think so. I don't even know what reply quotes are. Like when you're responding to someone else. It doesn't show that you're responding to someone else. I just assume that everything is being said to me because I am the center of the universe. Hi, Voya. It's okay. We'll be right back, buddy. Go take the puppies outside. Go potty. Hi, Gunther. Oh, yeah. No, it doesn't show reply quotes. I don't know. You guys are having your own side conversation. I have no idea. I know nothing. Baby, hold on. I think Steph Curry had something to do with the movie. Yeah, NBA superstar Stephen Curry produces and voices a character in the animated film Goat, released February 13th, which follows an undersized basketball player playing Goat named Will. Curry voices Lenny, a giraffe in the movie, which is produced by his company Unanimous Media for Sony Pictures. And that's all of my sports lore knowledge, like all of it. I have no more. That's all I know. Well, it's okay. You can laugh at me. I'm okay with being laughed at. Whether we're laughing at me or not, I kind of feel like we all are anyway, and I'm usually laughing at me. So I'm cool with it. Hi, whiny butt. Hi, whiny butt. Whiny McWinerson. Want some cheese with that wine? He got stuck. He's doing better with his cone today. He's orienting himself a little bit more. I can see the ats now. Those come through. You guys don't have to do that one though. It's okay. Can I be a part of the conversation? No, I feel left out. I only know because I saw the commercial so many times. It was like playing repeatedly on Hulu, and every single time it said his name specifically. And my buddy is a pretty big basketball fan, and he loved when he was playing. I don't even know if he still plays, but I was over there so many times smoking weed, and they're just Steph Curry, Steph Curry, Steph Curry with the shots. That's the only recollection of knowledge that I have. I know nothing otherwise. Ready? We got this. We got this. Oh, good boy. You didn't hit your head once. Mostly, kind of. Here you go, potty. Yeah, my neighbors usually leave their outside lights on at night, and I really wish they would lately. They've been turning them off, and they'd be nice to have. They'd be nice to have. Do your thing, honey. He pees on the girl pee with boy pee, like Chauncey used to, but he gets really about it. Full that. Oh, my neighbor's dog is out again. He pees so funny. Oh, he's peeing normal now. Before he would do a walk with his leg all the way up in the air, like flipping around. It was so weird. I had a big stretch. We do big stretch after. Look at those leggies. Those leggies are leggies. You can go potties? Oh, Pippi's going potties. Let her poop. Let her poop. Let her do poops. Yeah, you tinkied there earlier. And then Diesel tinkied on your tinky. Do you smell Diesel tinky? You probably don't want whatever's in the pot. I think just corn is in there. You gotta go poop poop? We gotta stretch our legs. I think he's a once a day pooper, which is different for a big dog. Pibby, you're eating rabbit poop. Now he's ready to go in. You're eating rabbit poop. Stop. That's how you get coccydia. Stop. Stop. Mama. Mama. House. Oh, she ran into his cone on her blind side. Sorry, sis. Come on. Come on. Come on. House. House. Oh, I forgot to put your jacket on. I'm such a jerk. No wonder you're ready to go in. Pibby still has to go more. Is he happy boy? Waggy butt. Waggy butt. Waggy butt. Happy butt boy. He's the happy butt boy. Hi, handsome man. She'll make it in. Pibby poops in the middle of the road. Hello, handsome boy. Hello, handsome boy. Pibby, stop taking breaks to eat rabbit poop. Good God. Her mission in life is to eat all of the rabbit poop. Come on. Come on. Come on. You got a brother waiting for you. Come on. There you go. There you go. There you go. Ah, da, 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 da. Ah, da, da. You can do it. You're big and strong. I'm coming too. We haven't figured out this door situation yet. He doesn't understand that I'm following through and that we both can't fit through the spot at one time. Clunk. We'll figure it out one day. But for now, it's interesting. It's very interesting. And I'm interested to see if that garbled up or if that stayed solid outside. And I'll look later on. It's losing connection. But it was better than last time. I wonder if I have it on the wrong Wi-Fi setting too. Because I remember last time we had it outside and it worked really well. I was very careful with what my settings were. Aw, you got a brindle dog? I've never had a brindle dog. Now you think I've had every kind of color dog. Hi, baby boy. You did good outside. I'm proud of you. You gotta take shoes and pants off. You did good breakfast. Or you did good dinner. Good dinner. Yes, you did. You did good. You did good. Blurp, 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 blurp. Alright, let's recycle your can. Because we can. And then we can go in the bedroom and get him settled, and then we'll do low and slow story time with Miss Sheila. Miss Pippies. Blurp, 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 blurp. Voya, you're so pathetic, baby. It's okay. It's okay. He has such big feelings. I'm gonna grab some more water for your bowl. Make sure it's full for you. He has figured out totally the water bowl with his cone, though, thankfully. You're okay. It's okay. You look like a couple of jailbirds. You look like a couple of jailbirds. They're both just waiting at me at the gate. I feel bad that he gets stuck in like that little chair and gate section of the hallway with the doorway around, and I don't want to make him keep getting stuck there, so I closed the gate on him, but then he's like, "You abandoned me. It's the end of the world." He's not getting 100% of all the attention, and he's sad. My poor little boy. We've missed. Usually sleep with him in the morning. So, 2 nights now. I'm thinking by the time we get to night 3, I'll put the donut on him after tonight. So tomorrow, whatever sleep is tomorrow night. I'm so confused on time right now. Not tonight, but tomorrow morning's rest. I'll sleep back in with the boys and get him settled in his crate. If it's like the perfect time, I'll probably feed him dinner late that night or a little bit later, like towards the end of stream instead of midnight 1, somewhere around there. That way he has his pain pill right before, and he should be good for like a good 3 hours to not. Whoa! He found the tripod. To not lick himself, because he can't fit in his crate with his cone. That would be cruel. Oh, you already had some meaty bites today. Do you want some jerky? You want some jerky? Boy has been missing out on mommy time. My sad little boy. I feel bad. I want to be able to comfort this gentleman, but I don't want Boya to stress out and get sick again. So I'm being very, very cautious. I normally spend my mornings in here, like doing my books and my red light therapy and all my silly little Serena things, but I've been spending my mornings in with him to try and compensate for it. You are so polite. Sit. Sit. Both of you sit. 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 Baby, you're such a snark. Such a snark. Sit. Nope, wait. Sit. They already sat. Sit. Good boy. Sit. Sit. She's like standing, trying to give me paw, going into a half sit, half lay down the whole. She doesn't know what to do. Baby learned tricks and then learned a pattern. So we sit, give paw, and then we down. And she used to do, when she was much more limber, she would sit, wave her paw, and then lay down right away and then look up at you like, okay, I did everything. I could have the treat now, right? It's hilarious. Now she's old and she moves in a slow robot fashion. Hi. Is that so yummy? Alright, we gotta put these away. And only a couple of treats. We don't want to have upset bellies. Also, you didn't poop. I'll have to try going out again before bedtime. I trust you to be a good boy, but we want to be extra mindful. Ah, why did that unmute? Just almost dropped it and thumb fingered everything. You are such a good boy. You are such a handsome gentleman. You are such a handsome gentleman. You are such a good boy. Oh, are you gonna come up for lap time? Pulling my shirt down. You're stepping on my shirt. Son. I just got a whiff of a smell. Did we do something somewhere? Yes. Oh. Pardon me for a bit, Club Cult. It's not like a full pee, it's just like drops. Do I have hand sanitizer in here? No, why the fuck not? Excuse me. I wonder if he had a bad dream. Oh, you know what? I think I know what he did. I think he marked. Let me see if it went through to the sheet. No, the sheet is dry. I just have to switch the blanket. His Diesel peed the bed there once because I didn't know that when that's my butt. I didn't know that him looking out windows meant that he needed to go potty, and Diesel had an accident over there once. I bet he was marking. Because he was just neutered the other day. So he still has all of those silly hormones. It's okay. You didn't do it on purpose. Well, maybe you did do it on purpose, but it doesn't really matter. I still love you. There's laundry. You're okay about it. Okay. Replace one gray blanket with another gray blanket. Oh, I think this one's thicker and warmer. Yay. So just so you know, next time you think about that, you don't have to do that. Just so you're aware. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. What you doing, darling? What you doing, Miss Pips? You're very cute and sweet. Yes, you are, baby. What? Oh, baby. You got stuck on the doorway. Hi. Don't flip up, Pippi. Don't flip up, Pippi. What? Hello. Hello. Oh, he is baby. It's okay. It's okay. I hate this cone. I hate all cones. Honey, you're gonna pop a titty. Don't do that. Thank you. You're gonna have the coffees now. Kisses. Ugh. Kisses. Kisses. Well, Backup used to do this, and I forgot how intense the feeling is. I was a younger girl then, but oh, I love it. That's my favorite. It's my favorite feeling. Big dogs do just want to be lap dogs. I used to wake up with Backup's head. It'd be like this. His nose would be right here. His jaw. And the big part of his skull over here. Just, what are you doing? He's trying to sniff my armpits. I just wake up with him on my face like that. His hot breath going into my nose. Why are you obsessed with my armpits? Here, have an armpit then. I don't know why I'm fighting you on this. Now you want to smell Pippi. Okay. If you need to sniff an armpit, you can sniff an armpit. You smell girl smells? Alright, let me see your butt. Did you tinky the bed maybe? No? Okay. Hi, do you need to smell my armpit? No, we're good on that now? Okay. Okay. I am very over this cone. I know you are too, but I'm very over it. Yes. Yes, we're very over it. We're very over it. Very over it, buddy boy. Ow. It's not his fault it's so awkward, but God, it's awkward. Look at you. She loves her brother. And you don't know how to settle because you don't know what's going on. I don't blame you, kiddo. It's okay. He's looking at Voya through the door right now. I don't think you're cat aggressive and inflated. Now he's just staring at the wall. In what world to a dog that would be cat aggressive is the wall more interesting than the cat? I think we're good. I think we're good, Pips. Only need to be mindful of Void, because Void still runs. It's okay. Come here, baby. I know that goddamn doorway. That goddamn doorway. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, you need some armpit? There's some armpit. There you go. I don't know. Again, I've never gotten any complaints, but I must smell either really good or really bad for everyone to be obsessed with my pit smells. Boy, it does demand a lot of interest. If he was a boyfriend, he'd have no job and always be at home waiting for you, like a golden retriever. He'd be a golden retriever boyfriend. A jobless golden retriever boyfriend. His job would be to wait for you and demand your attention. But like not in a toxic way. He would be one of the few that is not toxic in that way. The dream, right? Well, he walked into a door and landed himself a sugar mommy, so he sure is living the dream. I'll co-sign on that. Can you come up here, bud? So we can put up the gate and we can do story time with Sheesh. Hi, you're okay. The ace is kicking in and we're confused. Come here, Bubbaloo. Come here. Do some bedtime. Do some bedtime. Okay, you're okay. You're okay. Oh, don't press buttons, please. I don't know what you're pressing. Buddy. His little cough. It's probably twice as bad today as it was yesterday. So if it's any worse tomorrow, I'm going to run him up to emergency. They'll likely just give like antibiotics or whatever, but like it's not a huge deal, but I don't want it to get worse if I feel like it's getting bad. What was that, you big dinosaur? You're so precious. You're okay, my sweet. And that's your Pippi. You love her. I am so amazed and so relieved and so happy that she's not a shell of her former self anymore, that she is herself again. She really does just want a buddy to grow old with. And thank you for filling that void for her. That was a heck of a blind date. Probably the most successful blind date to date. For anyone, not just Pippi. Where's the controller? I want to turn your Thundercats back on. There it is. We've gone through 17 episodes. Mumra transforms himself into a troll named Grigory Grigian and tricks Lionel into attacking Tigra and breaking the sword. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Lionel's going to trick you. Alright, come here. Pippi, as much as I would let you like to stay with your boyfriend, you can't be in here with him by yourself when I'm not watching, just in case. He's still new. He's still new. Come on. Uppy doos. She doesn't want to leave the room. Come on. Come on. No, say. Say. Well, this is complicated. Come on. No, Pippi. Pippi. Mom, turn around. Go in your room. There you go. You're okay. You're okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Oh my god, my back hurts so much. I need this to stop. I need this to stop. Okay, you did good. You did it. You did it. I know. I know. We'll be right back, buddy. We'll be right back. Do some low and slow story time hour. with Miss Gigi and hopefully more competent words. Grab my water out of the boys' room. Oi. Where on my back? Like where my back dimples are. I think it's something sciatic because I can feel it on which side? The left side? Like going down my butt to like mid thigh. But it primarily is like 2 inches up and like 2 inch radius around each of my back dimples. It's just the weirdest feeling though. It's not the first time it's happened, but I get down and it feels like I can't get back up. But I can, but then I'm up. And then the concept of going back down is like, oh, please don't do it. Please don't do it. And grab my water from the boys' room. You're okay, bud. Yeah. I did resume working out and stuff. And I have been stretching the same, and I've been doing exactly the same thing that I did before, except for one slightly different bit of calisthenics I added, which I think that might be adding some strain to it, but it's definitely not the entirety of. I don't know what the entirety of would be. My hips do feel kind of tight though, so I feel like once it's a little warmer out and I'm back with walking the dogs, that will probably help loosen everything up. Consequentially, I don't want to admit to this because it makes me feel old, but worse than that, it makes me feel stupid. My last spicy stream, I may have thrown ass a little too hard, and I think that kind of fucked my shit up, and that was the day before Chauncey went downhill, and then I carried Chauncey throughout that entire day and that night after, and from then on, it's just kind of gotten worse. So I think I aggravated it, and everything that I'm doing, I need to take a day off of working out, and I don't like doing that, but I think I need to kind of give it a chance to rest. I think the initial onset of this level of pain is I threw ass too hard, but I don't want to admit that. So pretend I didn't admit that. There's too much. For someone who already has back problems, undefined yet, throwing ass too hard is probably not smart. Professional deep tissue massage would be amazing, but that is out of the price range currently. I'd planned before to go try and do massages instead of nails, but it's out of the price range currently. There are zoo needs. Got taxes coming up. I don't know if I'll get a refund or if I'll owe this year. I don't know what anything is. Can't spend any money till then. I have been looking up a few stretches for sciatic pain, and it's not helped, but I think it's kept it from going completely out, because a couple of mornings now I felt like, oh my god, my back is going to go completely out, and that would be bad. You don't want that. I have to put a walker on my throat for future ass throwing. Possibly. Now I know my limits, but I was really getting into the music. I had a good playlist that night. Like, it's not my fault. But I think that is the onset of events that has led to the pain now, is I threw ass too hard, I danced too much, and then I had to carry the dog, so it's 60 pounds that night, and then a bunch of times the next day, and then I probably had sad Charlie Brown posture following that, and forth from there, because it was feeling a little bit better until I had to carry him in and out of the car. And now it's super, super re-aggravated, so gotta stop forklifting dogs, maybe. I made a promise, though. I told Chauncey I would carry him for as long as he needed. So I fulfilled that. Yeah, we're gonna fully fulfill the granny dreams of some young men. Looking for a gilf? This Z-MILF has leveled up. I already do a lot of core exercises, and I feel like that's helping to keep me out of a full back going out too, which I appreciate, because your core holds everything together, and your abdominal muscles actually stretch. Let's see, they go from here, and then they're like a band to where they go to about where your back dimples are. Like they're like a belt of sorts that comes all the way around. So having a strong core definitely helps your back not compensate for a lot of other things. Pibby, you're so cute. She's finally laying in that bed again. She's amazing. Yoga and stretches probably keeping me out of the trouble, but just the general strain of it is why it's hurting. I just didn't want to admit to that. It's embarrassing. I could implement a lot more yoga though. And I know I move too fast with my Pilates. I need to move slower and with more intention in a more yoga-esque fashion with my Pilates, because I go way too fast through stuff. So like where I should be if I was laying down, oh, see, I'm doing it again. If I should be moving like this, I inevitably get like bored or start spacing out at what I'm doing, and then I'll be moving like this. And that's not the intention of the workout. You're still moving the same muscles, but not in a controlled way. Does that make sense? You have an easier time parking with a blue blanket. Oh my god. Maybe that'll make them actually accept my application. My application was denied when I last put everything forward for it. Denied. I gotta grab her yummies. I don't have pockets though. I don't have pockets. How do we solve this? Do I dare put a cold can in my top? Yes. Implant. Now, maybe they'll give me a blue placard now, but they wouldn't before. If only. If only. Honestly, I wouldn't use it in everyday life, but in places like at a hospital where you have to be so inevitably end up parking so far away from everything. I drive far for the medical care that I need, and I have to go or be sick as soon as I get to where I'm going. And it would be Charlie Hill. So better to be able to park closer. I would appreciate that. When I went for my surgery follow-up, I had to park on the roof. That was not pleasant. Hi, Gigi. I caught her playing with one of the toys earlier again, too. Since she likes the chicken churros, I'm just going to switch her to the Temptations, because those are chicken. Been trying to alternate ice and heat. I'm trying. I don't want to just live in pain. I don't want to. I took some Tylenol, or not Tylenol, acetaminophen, whatever acetaminophen is, within the last couple of days for each day, which that's not like the best one for joint pain, but that's the only one that I can take. So a little anti-inflammatory ain't gonna hurt nobody. You pushed your plate off to the side, sister. Now we have to be brave. Very brave. I am doing my best with it, and I don't mean to be complaining about it, but I feel it, and I'm stream of consciousness, and if I feel it, then I'm gonna say it. Mm. Alright, girlfriend, I gotta borrow your plate. Pushed it to the side. It's okay. It's okay. There we go. It's okay. I didn't have time for it today because I woke up early, but tomorrow I'd like to try and play with her a little bit and see if she has any interest in that. If she's not interested, that's fine. I'll still keep trying it, but I don't want it to scare her. Like Tank was afraid of string toys at first. It was a scary snake. It was the forbidden snake. It was the very forbidden snake. There you go, sweetie. A massage would be wonderful. That would be amazing. But PB needs to get spayed, and Tigra is going to have some serious dental work that needs to be done. That's probably going to be like an $800 bill, and PB will be about $500. So $1,300 post this, post tax time. Then I'll figure out a massage. Not my Tank. I want to make that a t-shirt now. He makes so many like particular faces. I want to put that on a t-shirt. It's a perfect boy. Charlie, that's enough with the door. Good lord. Good lord. Not our Tank. Our Tank is a good boy. We're so close. So bittersweet. We're so close. We're so close. I didn't grab my water. I just took a drink and then walked away from it. To grab my water bottle. I have brain cells. I have brain cells. Charlie wants story time too. Yeah, she missed out on her childhood. She wants story time too. Charlie, babe. Oh my god, you're right there. Honey scoop. Your boots. Yes. Okay, I hear you. That's fair. Did you guys hear her wail as I opened the door? My dad heard her on the phone the other day and was like, who is that? Get some good sleeps. I will be headed off into bed after low and slow story time hour. I gotta be able to get a decent chunk of rest and try and kick this headache. It's too much. And the sink taking a piss kind of took the piss out of me tonight. It's fun times. I appreciate you being here. Get some good sleeps. I hope. Oh, tomorrow is Voldemort Day. I hope Voldemort Day is kind to you. Crossing fingers and paws. It was a long time before anyone spoke. Out of the corner of his eye, Foog, we're just going with Foog, could see out of a sea of intense, expectant faces down in the square outside. We're going to get lynched, aren't we? He whispered. It was a tough assignment, said Deep Thought mildly. 42, yelled Loonqual. Is that all you've got to show for 7.5 million years' work? I checked it very thoroughly, said the computer, and that was definitely the answer. I think the problem is, to be quite honest with you, that you've never actually known what the question is. But it was the great question, the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, howled Loonqual. Yes, said Deep Thought, but with the air of one who suffers fools gladly. But what actually is it? A slow, stupefied silence crept over the men as they stared at the computer and then at each other. But you know, it's just everything. Everything, offered Foog weakly. Exactly, said Deep Thought. So once you do know what the question actually is, you'll know what the answer means. Oh, terrific, muttered Foog, flinging aside his notebook and wiping away a tiny tear. Look, all right, said Loonqual. Can you please just tell us the question? The ultimate question?
Yes. Of life, the universe, and everything? Yes. Deep Thought pondered for a moment. Tricky, he said. But can you do it? Cried Loonquall. Deep Thought pondered this for another long moment. Finally, no, he said firmly. Both men collapsed into their chairs in despair. But I'll tell you who can, said Deep Thought. They both looked at us sharply. Who? Tell us. Suddenly, Arthur began to feel his apparent non-existent scalp begin to crawl. She's eating it. She's eating it in front of us. It's happening. It's happening. It's all about those temptations. It's happening. Good girl. Good girl. She's giving me the side eye, but she's doing it. I don't even know where I stop now. Gotta play it cool. Gotta play it cool. Suddenly, Arthur began to feel his apparently non-existent scalp beginning to crawl as he found himself moving slowly, but inexorably, forward to the console. But it was only a dramatic zoom on the part of whoever had made the recording, he assumed. I speak none but the computer that is to come after me, intoned Deep Thought, his voice regaining its accustomed declamatory tones. Oh, I'm like filled with happiness right now. I can barely contain my excitement in my words. Oh my god. A computer whose merest operational parameters I am not worthy to calculate, and yet I will design it for you. A computer that can calculate the question to the ultimate answer. A computer of such infinite and subtle complexity that organic life itself shall form as part of its operational matrix. No slow blink, only hard stare. And you yourselves shall take on new forms and go down to the computer to navigate its 10 million year program. Yes, I shall design you this computer for you, and I shall name it also unto you, and it shall be called the Earth. Foog gasped at Deep Thought. What a dull name, he said, and great incisions appeared down the length of his body. Loonquall, too, sustained horrific gashes from nowhere. The computer console bletched and cracked. The walls flickered and crumbled, and the room crashed upward into its own ceiling. Slartibartfast Fast was standing in front of Arthur holding 2 wires. End of the tape, he explained. You're okay. You're a good girl. I want to give her another one, but I think it'll make her spook back. Right now she's leaning forward. Yeah, temptation's just monstrously extreme already. This is breaking news, everybody. Slow and steady wins the race. I am in shock. She's just staring at me. Let's give her a story time. Zephyr, wake up. Just come on, hey, wake up. Just let me stick to what I'm good at, yeah? Muttered Zaphod, and rolled away from the voice back to sleep. Do you want me to kick you? Said Ford. Would it give you a lot of pleasure? Said Zaphod blearily. No, nor me. So what's the point? Stop bugging me. Zaphod curled himself up. He got a double dose of the gas, said Trillian, looking down at him. 2 windpipes. And stop talking. It's hard enough to sleep anyway. What's the matter with the ground? It's all cold and hard. Oh, she got nervous that I moved my water a little too close out that I think it would spook her if I put more temptation. I'd like to, but I don't. This is baby steps. I don't want to go too fast. With an amazingly balletic movement, Sapphin was standing. Oh, it's all gold, said Ford. With an amazingly balletic movement, Sapphin was standing and scanning the horizon, because that was how far gold ground stretched in every direction, perfectly solid and smooth. It gleamed like. It's impossible to say what it gleamed like, because nothing in the universe gleams quite the same way that a planet of solid gold does. Who put that there? Yelled Sapphin, goggle-eyed. Don't get excited, said Ford. It's only a catalog. A who? A catalog, said Trillian. An illusion. How can you say that? Cried Zaphod, falling to his hands and knees and staring at the ground. He poked it and prodded it. It was heavy and very slightly soft. He could mark it with his fingernail. It was very yellow and very shiny, and when he breathed, his breath evaporated off of it in a very peculiar and special way. That breath evaporates off solid gold. Trillian and I came around a while ago, said Ford. We shouted and yelled till someone came, and then carried on shouting and yelling till they got fed up and put us in their planet catalog to keep us busy till they were ready to deal with us. This is all sensotape. Zaphod stared at him bitterly. Ah, shit, he said. You wake me from my own dream, my own perfectly good dream, to show me somebody else's. He sat down in a huff. What's that series of valleys over there? He said. Hallmark, said Ford. We had a look. We didn't wake you either, said Trillian. The last planet was knee-deep in fish. Fish? Some people like the oddest things. And before that, said Ford, we had platinum. A bit dull. We thought you'd like to see this one, though. Seas of light glared at them in one solid blaze wherever they looked. Very pretty, said Zaphod petulantly. In a sky, a huge green catalog number appeared. It flickered and changed, and when they looked around, again so had the land. And with one voice, they all went, yuck. The sea was purple. The beach they were on was composed of tiny yellow and green pebbles, presumably terribly precious stones. The mountains in the distance seemed soft and undulating with red peaks. Nearby stood a solid silver beach table with a frilly mauve parasol and silver tassels. In the sky, a huge sign appeared, replacing the catalog number. It said, whatever your tastes, McGrathia can cater for you. We are not proud. And 500 entirely naked women dropped out of the sky on parachutes. In a moment, the scene vanished and left them in a springtime meadow full of cows. Ow, said Zaphod. My brains. You want to talk about it? Said Ford. Yeah, okay, said Zaphod, and all three sat down and ignored the scenes that came and went around them. I figured this, said Zaphod. Whatever happened to my mind, I did it, and I did it in such a way that it wouldn't be detected by the government screening tests, and I wasn't to know anything about it myself. Pretty crazy, right? The other two nodded in agreement. So I reckon, what's so secret that I can't let anybody know it? Not the galactic government, not even myself. The answer is, I don't know, obviously. But I put a few things together, and I can begin to guess. When did I decide to run for president? Shortly after the death of President Yoden Franks. You remember Yoden, Ford? Yeah, said Ford. He was the guy we met when we were kids, the Arcturian captain. He was a gas. He gave us conkers when you bust your way into his mega freighter. Said you were the most amazing kid he'd ever met. What's all this? Said Trillian. Ancient history, said Ford. When we were kids together on Beetlejuice. The Arcturian mega freighters used to carry most of the bulky trade between the galactic center and the outlying regions. The Beetlejuice trading scouts used to find the markets and Arcturians would supply them. There was a lot of trouble with space pirates before they were wiped out in the Dordelis Wars, and the mega freighters had to be equipped with the most fantastic defense shields known to galactic science. They were real brutes of ships, and huge. In orbit round a planet, they would eclipse the sun. One day, young Zaphod here decides to raid one, on a tri-jet scooter designed for stratosphere work. A mere kid. I mean, forget it. It was crazier than a mad monkey. I went along for the ride because I got him some very safe money on him not doing it, and I didn't want him to come back with fake evidence. So what happens? We get in his tri-jet, and he gets souped up into some totally other crossed 3 parsecs in a matter of weeks, bust our way into a mega freighter, I still don't know how, marched to the bridge waving tiny toy pistols and demanded conkers. A wild wilder thing I have not known. Lost me a year's and Mama's a year's pocket money. For what? Conkers. The captain was this really amazing guy. Yoden Franks, said Zaphod. He gave us food, foods, stuff from really weird parts of the galaxy. Lots of conkers, of course. We just had the most incredible time. Then he teleported us back into the maximum security wing of the Beetlejuice State Prison. He was a cool guy. Went on to become the president of the galaxy. Zaphod paused. The scene around them was currently plunged in gloom. Dark mists swirled around them, and elephantine shapes lurked indistinctly in the shadows. The air was occasionally rent with the sounds of illusionary beings murdering other illusionary beings, presumably so that people like this sort of thing to make it a paying proposition. Ford, said Zaphod quietly. Yeah? Just before Yoden died, he came to see me. What? You never told me. No. And what did he say? What did he want to see you about? He told me about the Heart of Gold. It was his idea that I should steal it. His idea? Yeah, said Zaphod. And the only possible way of stealing it was to be at the launching ceremony. Ford gaped in astonishment for a moment and then roared with laughter. Are you telling me that you've set yourself up to be president of the galaxy just to steal the ship? That's it, said Zaphod, with the sort of grin that would get most people locked away in a room with soft walls. But why? Said Ford. What's so important about having it? I don't know, said Zaphod. I think if I'd consciously known what was so important about and what I would need it for, it would have showed up on the brain screening tests, and I never would have passed. I think Yoden told me a lot of things that are still locked away. So you think you went and mucked about the inside of your own brains as a result of Yoden talking to you? Yeah, he was a hell of a talker. Yeah, but Zaphod, old mate, you want to look after yourself, you know? Zaphod shrugged. I mean, you don't have any inkling of the reasons for all of this? Asked Ford. Zaphod thought hard about this, and doubt seemed to cross his mind. No, he said at last. I don't seem to be letting myself into any of my secrets. Still, he added on further reflection, I can understand that. I wouldn't trust myself any further than I can spit a rat. A moment later, the last planet in the catalog vanished from beneath them, and the solid world resolved itself again. They were sitting in a plush waiting room full of glass-topped tables and designed awards. A tall Magrathian man was standing in front of them. The mice will see you now, he said. We're so close. Oh my god. So there you have it, said Slardabart fast, making a feeble and perfunctory attempt to clear away some of the appealing mass of his study. He picked up a piece of paper from the top of the pile, but he couldn't think of anywhere else to put it, so he put it back on top of the original pile, which promptly fell over. Deep Thought designed the Earth. We built you for it, and you lived on it. And the Vogons came and destroyed it in 5 minutes before the program was completed, added Arthur, not unbitterly. Yes, said the old man, pausing to gaze hopelessly around the room. 10 million years of planning and work gone just like that. 10 million years, Earthman. Can you conceive of that kind of time span? A galactic civilization could grow from 5 single worms in that time over. Gone. He paused. Well, that's bureaucracy for you, he added. You know, said Arthur thoughtfully, that this explains a lot of things. All throughout my life, I've had this strange, accountable feeling that there was something going on in the world, something big, even sinister, and no one would tell me what it was. No, said the old man, that's just perfectly normal paranoia. Everyone in the universe has that. Everyone, said Arthur. Well, if everyone has that, perhaps it means something. Perhaps somewhere outside the universe we know. Maybe. Who cares? Said Slardabart fast, before Arthur got too excited. Perhaps I'm old and tired, he continued, but I always think that the chances of finding out what is really going on, are so absurdly remote that the only thing you can do is hang up the sense of it and just keep yourself occupied. Now look at me. I designed coastlines. I got an award for Norway. He rummaged around in a pile of debris and pulled out a large plexiglass block with his name on it and a model of Norway molded into it. Where's the sense in that? He said. None of this I've been able to make out. I've been doing fjords all my life. For a fleeting moment, they became fashionable, and I get a major award. He turned it over in his hands with a shrug and tossed it aside carelessly, but not so carelessly that it didn't land on something soft. And all this replacement Earth we're building, it's given me Africa to do. And of course I'm doing it with all fjords again because I happen to like them, and I'm old-fashioned enough to think they give a lovely Baroque feel to the continent. And they tell me it's not equatorial enough. Equatorial. He gave a hollow laugh. What does it matter? Science has achieved some wonderful things, of course, but I'd far rather be happy than right any day. That's some good advice. And you? No, that's where it all falls down, of course. Pity, said Arthur with sympathy. It sounded like quite a good lifestyle otherwise. Somewhere on the wall, a small white light flashed. Come, said Slartibark fast. You are to meet the mice. Your arrival on the planet has caused considerable excitement. It has already been hailed, so I gather, as the third most improbable event in the history of the universe. What were the first two? Well, probably just coincidences, said Slartibark fast carelessly. He opened the door and stood waiting for Arthur to follow. Arthur glanced around him once more, and then down at himself, at the sweaty, disheveled clothes he had been lying in the mud in on Thursday morning. I seem to have had tremendous difficulty with my lifestyle, he muttered to himself. I beg your pardon, said the old man mildly. Oh, nothing, said Arthur. Only joking. I'm going to pause there for tonight. Hi, big girl. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You really like those snacks, huh? She almost ate all of everything on the plate. I cannot believe that happened. I cannot believe it. I'm so proud of her. I'm gonna make you some more food, sissy. Oh, I hear a big guy barking. Not barking. Fussing. Being a sad puppy. You make your food, good girl. Will she let me touch her? No. I was giving her a chew the other day, and I was letting her like sniff it from probably about 6 to 10 inches away from her face. It's hard to tell distance inside of the carrier. And she lashed out at it, and I ended up having to use the grandpa grabber, to get the churro back. She is a no touchy. She is a swipe. Swipe. She is feral, like 100% feral. But she's also scared. I don't think she's a mean cat at all. She's just scared. She's reacting in fear. If she was a mean cat, when I would come into this room, she would jump out and lash out at me, if that makes sense. Kind of like how Tank was always a little bit confident. Like he would go for it rather than shying away and defending. So really she's just trying to defend herself and her space, her territory, her sense of safety in general. She's not mean. She just is very scared. So I'm trying to respect that. But she does seem to be very play motivated. I put some toys in for her because I caught her chasing her tail on camera. So I was going to try it today, but time didn't work out. I'm going to try it tomorrow, hopefully, to play with her with a string toy and see if she has any interest in that. Because she likes food, she likes snacks, but maybe that's not the full way to her heart. Whatever gets her more comfortable interacting with people. I can't believe she ate food on stream tonight. Oh, that's awesome. That's 3 times now she's eaten in front of me. And really, it's only been barely 2 months. Because it was the first week of January to now. That's pretty good progress for a feral cat, honestly. I'm very proud of her. She's a no touchy zone. I was trying to give her gabapentin so she could chill out more. But she seems to have like the opposite reaction effect, which can happen sometimes, where it makes them more on edge, kind of like me when I take a painkiller. I get anxious and on edge instead of like groovy. It seems like the same thing happens to her. which does happen. It's just not common. And do a few more slow blinks. Hi, pretty girl. I'm very proud of you. And that mama. She doesn't want to do slow blinks. I'm sure my neighbors with a newborn baby are loving that I have a whiny dog. Oops. I'm gonna bring this stuff upstairs and I will come back for you guys because I don't have enough hands. I don't have enough hands. Sorry, JP, 2 trips. Please. Miss Gigi, I'm gonna be a good girl tonight. I'm gonna get your munchies. The good little sweet girl. I should make her back. Close the zipping here. Yes. Good job. I am so proud of her. That's exciting. That's awesome. Okay, my little princesses. You get dinner in a few. Dinner in a few. Would Mom say the nights first, please? Hi, Charlie Bear. Hi, Charlie Bear. Where's Void? Oh, Void is over on the chair. She's gonna come over and say hi. Void is like completely coming out of her shell while being down here, which is really weird, but really cool. Yes, Charlie, we love you too. We love you too. Like, she's really engaging socially with the other cats and with me. She just needed to be pushed out of her comfort zone, I guess. Hi. Not that we like having all the kitties downstairs, but safety first when welcoming a new puppy into the house. I love you, sweet girl. Charlie, you're not escaping upstairs again. Move. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Basement door closed. I'll grab my water, bring us back into the stream room. Oh, Pippi, let's not lick the floor where everything flooded. Let's not. Tiger is in charge. Pippi. 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 The door has to be open for the court, Mama. It has to. Here, I need this. I can't close the door because it's plugged in the hallway for the fan. Okay. There we go. Oh boy, yeah. My baby. I know that's your man's. That's your boyfriend. That's your little boyfriend. Okay. Just give me a couple minutes, Bebop. Give me a couple minutes. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You're just a baby. You're just a baby, old man, baby. Little brindle boy. He's so pretty. He has a heart on his head. His little star mark. It's the shape of a heart. It was meant to be.
Shanti sent us a good one. Hello, Boya Bean. Oh, you don't want me. You just want food. That's what you're on about here. Okay, upsetty spaghetti. Okay. Okay. Gunther, you're in charge. I'm gonna re-up Foya on food. Yum. Yum. Oh my god, I didn't take my meds tonight. Because it was about that time that... Oh, sure, Gunther, just get up. Thanks. It's very helpful. It was about that time that the sink did evil deeds. I accept this, but some days I just do not win at life. Oh my god. Alright, well, PB streams tomorrow. We know why now. Hi, sweetie. I would like to try and have our Harley stream on Tuesday, though. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Sorry, Bean. There we go. Happy little refill. Little baby geese. Where's your silly? Switch us back. Our main spot here. There we go. Oh, sorry, Gunther. Jeez, I'm walking into everybody. Goodness golly. Goodness golly. Blurp, 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 blurp. Blurp, blurp. Blurp, blurp. What did I do with my hair? I got all excited. I can't believe Gigi came out. I can't believe she ate her snack with us. I captured that on camera. I have proof. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. That is a victory. I am so proud of her. I am so proud of her. That's awesome. Slow and steady wins the race. It does, it does, it does. It is the wrong treasure. There we go. I need to update our whole board in its entirety. But we are at our TNR goal. I'm hype. I'm excited. Thank you guys so much. This is a fun new adventure of the Stream the Dreams project. And I'm very grateful. I am very, very, very grateful. Alright, Club Cult is going to be our night for tonight. We'll cross fingers and paws that Monday is kind to everybody. And thank you all for a wonderful night. Thank you for your time, thank you for your chats, thank you for your support, thank you for being your wonderful selves. More than anything, thank you for your time. Time is very valuable. It is not free. It is this finite thing that you only get so much of to do whatever you want with. Make more money, you can make more friends, you can make more spinny screw-on things. You can go for a ride. You can make more hair ties. You cannot make more time. But you can drop hair ties. And thank you so much for yours. I am appreciative, I am grateful, I am humble. And I think you all are wonderful. If you'd like to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff, socials, some more fun stuff, schedule for when I will see you Bebs next, and the aforementioned Stream the Dreams project. Thank you all so much. Thank you for the stream. You are welcome for the stream. Clocked in just for you, the Mad Topher. Oh, really? Thank you. Thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight and any other night. very special. It's very meaningful. It's very magical. I think it's a very high honor in the world to be able to show up for others, but also have others show up for you. And I do not take that for granted for a moment. Thank you for being a part of our group project Z Milfin tonight. Do me one favor until I see you all next, and that is, remember that you are wonderful, amazing, incredible, spectacular, phenomenal, oh so gorgeous, oh so amazing, all the good things in the world. Take all those compliments and from the pocketless girly, them in your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hoodie pocket, your adorable little shirt pocket, floating in suspended animation, wherever they need to go until I see you next, bubbos. My sweet bubbos. Oh, blushing. Blushing. I also suspect, to sidebar myself to like an hour ago, and then I will disappear. I also suspect this chair is not helping my back. I tend to sit forward in it with good but strange posture, like my hips aren't squared. And the fact that we're going all over the place in it is probably not helpful. I might try to switch back to my other chair for a few days to see if it makes any difference. So all these tiny little factors in life. I gotta figure out which one does what. But I think maybe a broken chair isn't the best for best posture. Feels like I'm doing wall sits half the time when I'm sitting on it, which maybe isn't good. Maybe. Just maybe. Get some good sleep tonight, Club Cold. Get some good eats. Make good choices. Don't do anything Voya or I wouldn't do. But Voya makes many choices and screeches for attention and food. So, I mean, choose your own discretion on that one of what you consider your best choices to be. To be a humble little munchie man. I think we can all do that. That's what I'm about to do. Get some good sleep tonight, Club Cult, and I shall see you for the next one. Thank you for everything tonight, and I will see you, Beb, soon.